a son like Ethan.
Once there was a boy named Ethan who lived in a big mansion. His parents, Chief Matthew and Dr. Rita Okota, they were very wealthy and they gave Ethan everything he wanted. However, they never taught him how to be kind or respectful. Instead, they often ignored his bad behavior. Ethan would shout at the servants and treat them poorly. His parents saw this but thought it was just a phase. When he got into trouble at school for being rude, they would either change his school or make excuses for him instead of addressing his behavior. They showered him with gifts and money, never asking if he really needed anything. This made Ethan believe he was better than everyone else. As he grew up, he became more arrogant and greedy, thinking he deserved everything without effort. Ethan was raised as the sole focus of his parents' attention, showered with every material comfort. When Ethan was 18 years old, Mr. and Mrs. Okota had their second son Alex. This was when they realized their shortcomings and their mistakes in raising Ethan. So they determined to raise Alex differently. But despite their efforts to change Ethan's behavior and belief, he had already developed a sense of entitlement. It was indeed too late. By 20, he flaunted designer brands and lived off his parents' wealth without any responsibility. Graduating from a prestigious university with mediocre grades at 23, he spent a year in national service but learned little about accountability. At 24, thanks to his parents' connections, he landed a job in an oil company, but he was far from ready to embrace adulthood. Instead of committing to his career, Ethan spent nights partying, often waking up with hangovers. His absences became frequent, leading to warnings from his bosses. His parents expressed their frustration, suggesting therapy, but he resisted. His mother eventually persuaded him to attend a session, but he only went once. Ethan's grandmother, Madame Funk, believed the issue was spiritual and insisted he join her for prayers. After weeks of coaxing, he complied, but the experience didn't change him. His reckless lifestyle caught up with him when the company conducted an inspection for ghost workers for 3 days. His colleagues tried to call him but he ignored their calls. After a week of ignoring calls from his colleagues, he returned to find his belongings outside, having been dismissed. It was a wake-up call, but whether Ethan would finally confront his choices remained uncertain. Ethan was a young man who lost his job because he was careless. He didn't take his work seriously, and when his boss fired him, he felt lost and ashamed. When his parents found out he had been fired, they were devastated. His father, Mr. Matthew Okota, was shocked and collapsed right in front of Ethan. They rushed him to the hospital, but his condition worsened, and he suffered a serious heart attack. The family was worried and decided to take him abroad for better treatment. They hoped for a miracle. After many treatments, Mr. Okota still struggled to recover and eventually suffered a full stroke. Despite their hopes and prayers, Mr. Okota passed away at the age of 59. After the tragic death of his father, Ethan seemed unmoved. Instead of feeling sorrow, he became focused on claiming his share of his father's property. At the burial ceremony, he approached his mother, Rita, demanding what he believed was rightfully his. His behavior shocked his family, especially his mother and brother. They were grieving, and Ethan's selfishness added to their pain. The situation grew tense, and even their uncles and his father's kinsmen were drawn into the conflict, siding with Ethan's demands. Fortunately for Rita, Chief Matthew had left a will. It outlined how the estate would be divided, ensuring Ethan wouldn't receive more than he was entitled to. Still, his greed and lack of remorse left a deep rift in the family. While others mourned, Ethan continued to focus on material gain, showing no signs of repentance. The family was left to deal with both their loss and the challenges posed by Ethan's actions. 2 weeks after Chief Matthew's burial, his properties were divided between Ethan, now 25, and his younger brother, Alex, who was only 8. Shortly after the division, Ethan left the family home without telling anyone. He quickly began living a lavish lifestyle, selling his share of the inheritance. Rita, their mother, heard rumors about Ethan's reckless behavior and wasn't surprised. She knew her son well and had already resigned herself to the fact that Ethan was lost. Her heart ached, especially knowing that Alex's future was now at risk. Feeling overwhelmed, Rita sought advice anonymously in a Facebook therapy group. Many suggested that she run away with Alex to protect him from Ethan's influence. But despite her fears, Rita couldn't abandon her son. She loved Ethan deeply, even as he spiraled out of control. A year later, as she watched Ethan sell off every last piece of property, Rita made a difficult decision. To safeguard Alex's future, she would have to take action. She started the process of applying for immigration visas for herself and Alex. I can still stay in touch with Ethan if he wants, she thought, hoping for a chance to reconnect with her son someday. With a heavy heart but a clear purpose, she focused on securing a better life for Alex. A year later, just as Rita and Alex were nearing the end of the immigration process, Ethan returned home. He looked rough and dirty, a stark contrast to the son they once knew. It was clear he had fallen into hard drugs and a reckless lifestyle. Initially, Rita and Alex were frightened. They feared he might be mentally unstable. However, when Ethan finally spoke, they realized he was still their son. He hugged them tightly, pretending to be happy to be back, and claimed he missed them dearly. Rita felt a wave of hope, thinking he had changed, like the prodigal son from the Bible. She quickly prepared a feast to welcome him home. But the next day, Ethan's true colors began to show. He asked for money, claiming he had started a big business with the proceeds from his property sales but was facing challenges. Rita, wanting to support him, gave him the money he requested. Days turned into weeks, and Ethan's excuses multiplied. He spun tales of more troubles, each more elaborate than the last, and Rita kept giving. In just 30 days, he had collected 10 million naira from her. Rita's initial joy began to fade as she realized Ethan hadn't changed at all. He was still the same reckless son, using her kindness to fuel his destructive lifestyle. The burden of her choices weighed heavily on her heart as she struggled to protect Alex and herself from Ethan's growing demands. Rita finally decided enough was enough, she wouldn't give Ethan any more money. This decision sparked an escalation in his behavior. Soon after, Ethan asked for 500,000 naira to celebrate his birthday, but when Rita refused, he sold their new LG smart television worth 5 million naira, just 3.5 years old. When Rita returned from work and discovered what he had done, she offered to give him 1 million naira to get the television back, but Ethan claimed he had sold it for 3.5 million and refused to return the money. 2 days later, 3 different women arrived looking for Ethan, claiming they had children with him. The police arrested him when he refused to take responsibility for the kids and tried to run away. Rita couldn't bear to see her son decay in jail, so she arranged for a settlement. After DNA tests confirmed their paternity, and indeed Ethan was their father, Rita rented a 3-bedroom apartment for the 3 ladies to share. They were okay with it. Rita was in charge of the kids' school fees, clothes and all the basic things. Rita told Ethan that any money he earned should go towards supporting his children, urging him to turn his life around. But Ethan refused her help, continuing down a destructive path. Soon, he had sold nearly everything of value in their home. With no choice left, Rita and Alex moved into a hotel as they searched for a new apartment. Just as they were about to finalize a rental, the US visas came through. Without hesitation, Rita resigned from her job at the hospital. 2 weeks later, she and Alex relocated to America, leaving the chaos of their old life behind. It was a new beginning, and she hoped it would offer them the fresh start they desperately needed. Ethan was determined to sell the family house, but when he searched for the documents, he couldn't find them. Desperate, he forged new ones. However, just as he was about to sell the property using the fake documents, he was arrested. He soon realized that his mother, Rita, had taken precautions to protect their home. Before leaving, Rita had entrusted the house to a local street security agency, paying them to keep watch. She had also hired neighborhood lawyers to secure the property, who then reported Ethan's actions to the nearest police station. Frustrated and unable to access the house, Ethan turned his attention to finding his mother, demanding she give him the real documents. When he couldn't locate her, he visited his baby mamas, hoping they would know her mother's whereabouts. Yes, Mrs. Rita, actually told the ladies that she was traveling out the very day she traveled. She saw her grandchildren and also made provision for their well-being while she's away. To Ethan's shock, he learned that his mother had relocated to America with Alex. This news hit him hard, leaving him feeling more isolated and enraged than ever. Without a plan and with his options running out, Ethan was left to confront the reality of his choices and the life he had created. Ethan was very sad after his mother, Mrs. Rita, moved abroad with his brother. He felt left behind and grew more irresponsible and lazy. Instead of focusing on his future, he spent his days aimlessly. In the USA, Rita worried about Ethan's lifestyle. She missed him deeply but didn't know how to help. She decided to be sending him feeding allowance. She also made arrangement with different food vendors to supply food to him because she knew Ethan would starve to death if she doesn't. So food was not Ethan's problem. Rita was always unhappy because of Ethan's condition. Without her notice, the people in her neighborhood has given her a terrible name, Mrs. Sadist. There was a young lady in her neighborhood too. Her name was Peace. She was a student and she lived very close to Mrs. Rita. When Peace heard about the horrible name they gave to Rita, she felt pity for her and she vowed to make her happy someday. Nobody is unhappy without cause, I will find out, she said. Peace stretched a hand of friendship towards Rita. At first, Rita was reluctant because she was a young girl, an 18-year-old girl, but Alex liked her, so Rita was left with no choice. When Rita saw that Peace was a very good girl, she opened up and told her their life history including Ethan's predicament. Peace felt so bad for Rita and encouraged her to start going to church. Rita decided to give it a try and began attending the Peace's church. Years later, as Rita continued to pray for Ethan, memories flooded back. She remembered how she had desperately prayed for a child after 3 years of marriage. She had vowed to raise him well and guide him to serve God. After her prayers, Ethan was born, and shortly after, her husband, Matthew, received a big contract. Their lives changed completely. But as they became busy with material things, she stopped attending church and neglected her promise. I failed myself, Rita cried, kneeling down to ask God for forgiveness. Driven by love for her son, Rita resolved to reconnect with Ethan. She prayed for guidance, hoping to bring him back to the values she once promised to instill. With faith and determination, she knew she had to reach out, believing that their bond could heal, no matter how far apart they were. Indeed, Ethan has gone to the dark side to acquire quick wealth. In his desperation, one day, as he was using his social media app, he came about a native doctor who was advertising quick wealth with no human blood or sacrifice and repercussion. He was so interested, after all, no human blood and no repercussion, Ethan said happily. He quickly called the native doctor's number that was displayed on the screen. The man picked the call and asked him to come to a certain village far from Lagos, his location. At first, he was discouraged because the place was very far and everything he had heard about the village was scary. What if I go there and they use me for rituals instead, he said. So he decided not to go. 2 weeks later, he met his old colleague Felix in a mall with a very beautiful and latest model car. He looked so fresh and handsome that Ethan even asked him if he traveled out of the country. Felix said no. I'm still in that same office you left me. Oh. He laughed. Then, he told Ethan he was promoted the very day Ethan and some other guys were fired. Why did they promote you? Ethan asked. I was consistent and diligent with my job. I was even sent abroad to study for 1 year. All expenses paid by the company. My monthly salary is approximately 4 million. Felix concluded. Instead of Ethan to be happy for Felix and seek help from him, or maybe help him to return back to the company, he hissed and left Felix angrily. Felix was not shocked. Ethan has not changed one bit, even after this years. I forgot Ethan hate good news, Felix said, and he drove off. When Ethan got home, he was so angry and he started destroying things. Imagine that small boy of yesterday, rising shoulders for me, boosting for me, Ethan. How much does he have, he said. That night, he made up his mind to visit the native doctor in the remote village. Life is risk, he said. The next day, he set for the journey. After 12 hours he got to the village of Izozo. With the help of the native doctor who directed him all through the journey with phone calls. When he got to the capital of the state, the native doctor sent someone to pick him up. When Ethan got to the native doctor's shrine, what he thought was free was not free as advertised. Terms and conditions were applied. He was asked to bring the hair of his blood relative, either child, parent or sibling. And the person will die. But he refused, but it was too late. The native doctor told him that, if he leaves and not return in 3 days, he will die. On hearing this, Ethan left hurriedly. He planned to use any of his children's hair and blood. I can have more children with 10 different women if I want. But something happened. The last time Ethan went to visit them was when he was looking for his mother, Rita. When he learned that she has traveled. He believed his mother will be sending the money because she loved those children so much, so every time, she will meet his baby mamas to give him the money his mother sent to them. Every time, he was extorting money from them. When Mrs. Rita found out, she was so sad, she offered to take the children abroad. Luckily, their mothers accepted, because 2 of them were about to get married and they knew their children will have better lives with their grandmother. After all, who know like better things, one of the Ethan's baby mama said. And Mrs. Rita also promised them that, in due time, she will process their visas too so that they can also visit their children. Mrs. Rita took that decision not because it was easy for her but because, by all means, she didn't want Ethan's children to grow up under his influence. I must not make the same mistake twice. If this is what it will take me, I will do it, she said. The visa processing did not take too long. In 6 months, Rita's grandchildren visas were ready. She came and took the kids abroad herself. She tried to see Ethan but his number was switched off. It was one of those days, he will drink himself to stumble and don't know where he is for 2 days. Rita went to his house but their door was locked so she had no other choice but to leave without seeing her son, Ethan. Before Rita left, she asked the ladies if she should leave the apartment for them. She offered to pay the house rent continually but they thanked her and they told her they will rather go back to their homes respectively. 2 of us are getting married soon, one of them said. Back to Ethan, Ethan rushed to the baby mama's apartment to cut one of his children's hair. But he was surprised to see another person in the apartment. Who are you? The man asked. Ethan was so angry, thinking it was his baby mama's boyfriend. Get out of my way, he went inside. The man was shocked. When he entered the living room, the place was silent and the chairs and the things changed. The kids' pictures were not even on the wall. Where are my kids? Ethan asked. Where is Juliet and the rest people in this house? Now the man understood and said, I can see you were the previous tenant or you are looking for the previous tenants. Please go and ask the landlord. I rented this apartment 2 months ago. Ethan screamed. He rushed out. He came back, rudely requested for the landlord's phone number. The man still gave him the number and he left without saying thank you. Immediately, Ethan called the landlord, and he told Ethan, they packed out 3 months ago and they didn't tell him their whereabouts. Ethan went straight to one of the baby mama's family house and she told Ethan everything. Ethan was so angry. That very day, being it the last day, he rushed to the native doctor's place for an alternative. Your manhood or your lifespan. If you use your manhood, you will be very wealthy but you will never use your manhood again. If you use your lifespan, you will be very wealthy too but you will live for only 15 years. If you choose none of them, you will die, the native doctor said. Ethan objected, but this was not what you advertised on. The native doctor laughed and said, all that glitters is not gold, my son. If I tell people about the rituals, nobody will come here. He continued laughing. Ethan agreed to use his manhood but the native doctor refused. You already used it to bear children so it won't work, the native doctor said. Ethan reluctantly used his lifespan. After the rituals, the native doctor gave him 2 big sack bags and asked him to keep them in his personal bedroom. No one must see the bags else the charm and your sacrifice will be in vain. You will be coming for sanctification 3 times a year, the rest things, I will tell you on phone, the native doctor concluded. Ethan doesn't have anybody in his house, so he didn't bother. As instructed, when he got home, he kept the bags in his bathroom. He was so tired, so he decided to rest a little before he take his bath, then he slept off. He didn't wake till 12 p.m. the next day. He woke up feeling so exhausted and hungry. He went to bathroom. As he used the toilet, he didn't even remember the bags. He went straight to the kitchen, picked bread and Coke, as he was eating. All of a sudden, he remembered the bags. Immediately he ran to the bathroom. He even fell down on the staircase. When he entered the bathroom, the bags were not there. He quickly went downstairs to see, he forgot to lock the door. But the doors were locked. He ran back to his room. And he started screaming. I have been dumped. No way. That old man played me. He called the native doctor. His number was not reachable, so Ethan decided to go back to the native doctor's village. When Ethan opened the wardroom to pick his clothes, he saw the big bags inside the wardroom and he started wondering how it got there. Then he also noticed that his clothes were not there too. The bags also looked as if something was inside. He tried to carry the bag, but it was too heavy. With all his strength, he pushed the bags down the wardroom. When he opened the first bag, he screamed. See money, oh oh oh. Money in different currencies were in the bags. Even the currencies Ethan doesn't know. That was how his lifestyle changed again to the one he lived when his father was alive. He started ballin'. He went back to the lifestyle he was used to. And even became worse. He started buying luxury cars, houses, etc. The first thing he did was to stop picking his mother's calls. Now I don't want her again, Ethan said. Meanwhile, Ethan was living a lavish life and had suddenly become rich. He was the talk of the town, and news reached Rita. How did he get all that money, she wondered, feeling a mix of confusion and concern. She knew something was wrong. She reached out to Ethan, but he refused to see his mother. Then he messaged his mother that he has severed all ties with her, Alex, and his own children. One day, Mrs. Rita sent one of Ethan's cousin Peter to him, but Ethan ordered the gate man to send him away. My bad mother took my brother Alex to America, and she abandoned me here to suffer. She thought I will die. No. I'm alive. This money, you people will not smell it. Ethan said. And Peter, who was still outside, heard everything. Even Ethan's mother, who was on the phone with Peter, heard too, and she begged Peter to tell Ethan to at least pick her calls. From outside, Peter begged Ethan to pick his mother's calls, but Ethan screamed from his compound and warned him to leave the front of his house, else he will send his dogs after him. When Peter heard that, he ran for his dear life. So for many years Rita didn't get in touch with his son, Ethan. 14 years later, Rita's mother died, and the burial was fixed immediately because she ordered her children to bury her fast when she dies. That she didn't want the mortuary to dry her like smoked fish. Before that time, Ethan's grandmother has relocated back to her husband's village in Edo State. Even before Ethan's father died. Now it was exactly 4 months to 15 years that he used his lifespan for money rituals. As usual, when he visited the native doctor for his sanctification, he was reminded of the time he's left to live on earth. So the native doctor asked him to enjoy more and prepare to die in 4 months' time. He was not shocked or scared because he has always numbered his days. He went back, he doubled everything. He was literally living in clubs, moving from one country to another. A week to Ethan's grandmother's burial ceremony, Rita, Alex, and Ethan's children came back from America. Rita sent another of Ethan's cousin Lovett to Ethan's house again. To tell him that his brother and his children are around. Even though he doesn't want to see me, he will definitely love to see his kids and only brother. Rita said. When Lovett got there, he learned that Ethan was no longer living there, but the gateman told her he just bought another house in the same estate. And he gave Lovett the house address. Lovett went there and told the security man that she was Ethan's relative. She begged to see him without his prior notice. Okay, let me call him, the security said. And the security allowed her into the compound because it was raining and she didn't come with a car. When the gate man informed his boss Ethan, he was so upset. From the terrace, he asked Lovett to leave his house immediately, else he will shoot her. Lovett started begging him. She begged and begged. And she reminded Ethan that they used to be very close where they were young, but Ethan interrupted her. You people left me when my father died because I didn't have money again. No, Lovett interrupted him too and said, we left you because you weren't serious. You were rude and disrespectful just the way you are now. Ethan interrupted her again this time. He was so angry because he hated to be corrected. Because I'm rich, that is why you want me now? Ethan said. Lovett laughed. She started speaking their native Igbo language because he didn't want the gate man to understand her. Your money? Which money? Even if you give me now, I won't take it because it is not clean. You and I know that. You think we don't know? Lovett laughed. You remember Chidi? Our childhood friend, who had the same character like you. The same native doctor who gave you wealth, did his too. You know, right? You must have met 1 or 2 times in his place. Are you aware he's dead? When Chidi was sick with the deadly illness he was infected with by your same native doctor because he tried to seek for help elsewhere, so that he won't die at his appointed time, Peter visited him and he confessed everything to him before he died. He died in Peter's arms. We know you have a short time too. We have not told your mother because we don't want her to die. Ethan, you still have a little time, come back home, let's see how we can help you. You must have given up already, but things might change. God might show you mercy. And if you must even die, why not die peacefully? Why not live the remaining days or months with your loved ones? You own children, you have not seen them for many years. You have seen your brother. Even the blood money you have made, you are wasting it. Allow. So what's the essence? You care about only yourself. Ethan, your selfishness is in the highest region. You know your mom and your brother don't hate you, they only ran away from you because you made their lives a living hell. The remaining days you have, spend it wisely. Think about it, Ethan. Lovett concluded and left. That day, Ethan was calm. He cancelled all his appointments and for the first time in many years, he had a quiet reflection of his life. Yes, everything was my fault, he said. He picked his phone to call his mother. Immediately his mother, Rita, picked the call. He ended it and switched off his phone. It's too late. There's nothing she can do about it. I must not involve them in any of my mistakes anymore. I have done enough, Ethan concluded. The next day, Ethan vowed not to waste his money anymore. So he promised to will whatever he's left with for his mother, brother and children. He didn't know if it was safe for him to will his properties and money to his family, so he went to the native doctor's house to consult and check. The native doctor told him, for that to be possible, his lifespan will reduce from 4 months to 4 days. Ethan screamed angrily, you never told me that. I just decided to ask, what if I was giving them money all this while? I should have known, you should have told me, Ethan said. You come for sanctification every 4 months, what do I check? If you have erred, you are supposed to give your family but little. Even in your death, they are not supposed to take everything. Now you want to give them everything, so you will have to pay for it, the native doctor concluded. Ethan murmured. Okay, the 4 days is not bad. At least my family will never lack again. The native doctor sanctified him for the last ritual, as he was about to go. The native doctor called him and hugged him. Ethan was surprised. You have never hugged before, are you pitying for me now? Ethan asked him. The native doctor burst into tears, I have 1 more day too. Ethan screamed. What? The native doctor tearfully told him, that was his repercussion for his deeds too. You have your time too. What will happen to your shrine? Ethan asked. I don't know. I didn't force my children to follow my footsteps. If anyone chose to follow, that is all for him or her. They hugged again. And the native doctor told Ethan, if there's a reincarnation, in your next life, be good. Be content and be responsible. Till Ethan got home, he couldn't take his mind of what the native doctor told him. Yes, I was not responsible, I was not good, and I was not content. That's why I'm here, he said, and he cried bitterly that night. The next day, Ethan called his lawyers and he transferred all his wealth to his mother, brother and children. And that very day was his grandmother's burial. In the village in Edo State, the burial ceremony was going on. Rita's mother has been buried and the children were dancing when Ethan suddenly arrived. Rita, Alex and Ethan's children ran and hugged him. They all started crying. After the ceremony, Ethan flew back to Lagos that very day and he promised to see his family when they returned to Lagos. Rita, Alex and Ethan's children planned to stay in the village for 1 week before. Because of Ethan, they changed their plan and they left the village next day after the burial. Immediately they got to Lagos, Rita called Ethan and his number was switched off. Ethan has locked himself in the room waiting for his dead. Before he did that, he paid his gate man and servants off and he told them he was traveling out of the country. As Ethan's phone was switched off, Ethan's mother Rita was worried. She wanted to go to Ethan's house that night but Alex stopped her that it was too late. So she decided to go the next morning. The next day was supposed to be Ethan's last day on earth. Ethan woke up, he had his bath and ate. He thought that he will need energy to walk through the land of the death. After eating he sat in the living room and started thinking about all that has happened in his life again, while his phone was still off. That morning, Rita called Lovett to accompany her to Ethan's house. Lovett brought her husband's car to pick her up. As they were going, Lovett couldn't hold on to the secret Peter told her about Ethan, so she opened up and told Rita. Lovett was surprised that Rita did not scream or she was not amazed. Rita noticed and smiled. My dear, I know my son's wealth is not pure. He is not working. He sold all his inheritance before we left to America and he is not ready to work or sweat for money. Then how will he make money if he's not on the wrong side? I know. But I'm praying to God to show him mercy. And secondly, I have been so close to God and I have been seeing revelations concerning him. As they were talking, Peace called Rita and told her she's in Nigeria and she asked her to send her Ethan's house address. Rita was shocked. Ethan, what are you doing in Nigeria? But Peace asked her to leave that one first, that they don't have that time. Immediately, she sent Peace Ethan's house address. Peace was the young girl who pushed Rita to God many years ago. Now, she already has a ministry. And so many years, Rita and Peace has been praying for Ethan. 3 days before the day Peace arrived in Nigeria, she saw a revelation and she was asked go to Nigeria to save Ethan, and in the same revelation, she was told that Ethan was her husband and Ethan is also destined to be a pastor and serve God with her in her ministry. Peace didn't doubt but she said, she didn't have a Nigeria visa, that if everything is true, the visa should be approved in 24 hours. She applied for the visa online. 2 hours later, the revelation was confirmed. The visa was granted immediately and she went to stamp it. Immediately, she booked her flight. Rita and Lovett arrived in Ethan's house. The gate was locked and there was no gate man. The last time I came, I met a gate man, Lovett said. The gate is a model gate. There was no padlocks for them to know whether Ethan was in or out. I don't think Ethan is at home, Lovett said. Rita knew something was wrong. For Peace to be in Nigeria because of Ethan, there is still hope. God will show Ethan mercy. Then Rita burst into tears. Could it be, his time has come? Lovett said. I don't understand, Rita said. As Lovett was about to explain, Peace arrived. Where's Ethan? She said. We don't know if he's around. Rita and Lovett said simultaneously. Call his name. Shout it. We don't have time. Peace said. Rita started calling Ethan's name. Ethan saw her mother Rita and Lovett when they just arrived because they horned for the gate man to open for them that time. Ethan purposely kept quiet. All the time they were knocking, Ethan was looking at time through the terrace window and he was crying bitterly. Rita and Lovett continued to call his name. Ethan didn't answer. It was so loud that the neighbors came outside angrily. One of them said, "Madam, call him or come back later instead of barking like a dog." Rita ignored and continued calling her son. Another neighbor came out and he threatened to call the estate securities to chase them out. Then Lovett begged him and told them it was a thing of life and death. Ethan saw everything and refused to open the door. Peace, who was quiet all this while, calmly called Ethan's full name, asking him to open the door. Her voice was so soothing and calm. "Who's that woman? She even knows my full name," Ethan said. He tried to resist her but he couldn't any longer. Immediately he ran down and opened the gate. Immediately Ethan opened the gate. Rita was about to talk, but Peace stopped her and told her to hold on. "We don't have time." She dragged Ethan inside while the rest people ran after them. Ethan was shocked. When they got to the living room, Ethan fell to her mother's feet and he started crying, begging for her forgiveness. Peace stopped her. "Leave the earthly one first. Your mother has forgiven you long time ago. You have few minutes to accept God or the stick with your devil." Ethan accepted God and he prayed that God should forgive him and accept him in his right hand. Then Ethan turned to her mother and he told her that he has few minutes to live. When Rita heard that, she fainted. As Ethan was running to help her mother, Peace stopped him and asked him to continue to pray for mercy. "Pray, Ethan, continue to pray for mercy." Peace screamed. All of a sudden, he fainted. Peace was praying. Lovett quickly poured water on Rita's body and she woke up. When she saw her lifeless son on the floor, she fainted again. Then Peace asked Lovett to leave Rita and start praying, else she will carry what she didn't come with. They prayed and prayed till midnight. Rita and Ethan were still unconscious. Lovett was so tired that she slept off too. Lovett woke up the next day and she was surprised that Peace was still praying. Rita was still unconscious while Ethan was awake but was behaving abnormally. He will bark like a dog, then cry like a baby, then behave like a mad person. Lovett was even scared. For few minutes, Peace stopped praying and she asked Lovett to go home, that her husband was worried. He called utility phone and Mrs. Rita's phone went off. "Also go and take care of your newborn baby and yours quests, which are Alex and Ethan's children," Peace said. "How did you know I have a newborn baby?" Lovett asked. Peace smiled and she continued her prayers. So Lovett went home as instructed while Peace continued her prayers. 12 hours later, Rita woke up and she didn't see Ethan and Peace. She thought Ethan has died and Peace has taken him to the mortuary. Then she fell on the floor and started crying. Ethan has been delivered. He was so exhausted, so Peace took him to the kitchen to find food for them. Ethan suggested they take Rita to the hospital but Peace refused. She will wake up at the right time. She wasn't supposed to witness everything that happened, else she might die, Peace said. When they finished taking the cereals, they went up to see Rita. When Rita realized Ethan was alive, she fell down and started praising God. "I have been giving a second chance," Ethan said. Peace gave Rita some cereal and water. Later they all went to bed. That night, when Ethan was sleeping, he heard another encounter with God. That morning, he told Peace and her mother Rita the revelation. That was exactly the revelation Peace heard in America. Peace confirmed it and Rita fell to the floor and started praising God. Ethan also had a revelation of what should happen to his wealthy. 30% of all his wealth should be given to charity. 50% should be used for worldwide evangelism, while he keeps only 20% for himself and family. Ethan obeyed accordingly. Ethan turned a new leaf. He started doing good things. He even went to a pastoral school and he becomes a pastor. 2 years later, Peace and Ethan got married. Rita, Alex, Ethan's children and the entire family were happy that Ethan had changed to a better person. In no time, Ethan has become a great evangelist. Peace and Ethan preach all over the world. Every opportunity Ethan has, he preach and advise people to train up their children in the right way, else it will turn to a generational problem. Every time, he used himself as an example for the world to see and hear what God can do. A home that was once shattered became a beautiful, lovely and peaceful home. They all lived happily ever after. The end. Momo the dreaded witch. In the heart of Ilolo village, nestled deep within the shadows of ancient trees and whispered legends, lived a woman known simply as Momo. She was not like the other villagers. Her skin was as dark as the night sky, and her eyes gleamed with a mysterious intensity that made even the bravest souls in Ilolo uneasy. Momo was rumored to possess powers beyond mortal understanding. Whispers carried on the wind spoke of her ability to communicate with spirits and weave spells that could alter fate itself. But what frightened the villagers the most was her peculiar trade. She cooked and sold food made with human blood. The oil she used for her food was human blood. It was said that under the cover of darkness, Momo would venture into the nearby town and strike bargains with desperate souls who sought her magic. For a price, she would promise them their heart's desires, but the cost was always steep. Those who dared to cross her often found themselves at the mercy of her dark arts. Despite the fear and suspicion that surrounded her, Momo's food stall in Ilolo's bustling marketplace was always crowded. Even with all the rumors said about Momo, people still have the disturbing urge to buy her food, that until she finished selling her food, no other person could sell. It got to the extent that other sellers usually wait until she finished selling before they bring their food out for sale. The aroma of her dishes, infused with herbs and spices unknown to the villagers, drew people like moths to a flame. They whispered among themselves, exchanging nervous glances as they lined up to purchase her food. One particular humid evening, as the village prepared for its annual festival, Momo's presence loomed larger than ever. The air was thick with anticipation and the scent of roasted meats. Momo stood behind her stall, clad in flowing robes that shimmered in the moonlight. Her fingers moved deftly as she prepared her signature dish, a soup rumored to grant longevity to those who consumed it. The key ingredient, known only to her, was human blood carefully collected from willing donors who seek for her spiritual services. As the night wore on, the festival reached its zenith. Villagers danced to the rhythmic beats of drums, their laughter mingling with the distant calls of nocturnal creatures. But amidst the revelry, a hushed conversation took place among a group of elders gathered in the shadows. "We cannot allow this any longer," whispered one, his voice trembling with resolve. "Momo's powers are too dangerous. We must confront her before it's too late." Nods of agreement rippled through the group, and with determined steps, they went and sought permission from the king of Ilolo, which he gladly accepted. Then, that same night, they approached Momo's stall. The villagers watched in tense silence, their curiosity tinged with apprehension as the elders confronted the strong woman. Momo regarded them with an unreadable expression, her dark eyes gleaming knowingly. She listened as they accused her of dark magic and profane rituals, of preying upon the desperate and vulnerable. One of the elders said, "Momo, we already know, you are a witch, so don't pretend as if you don't know what we are talking about." But instead of showing fear or remorse, Momo smiled, a smile that sent shivers down the spines of those who dared to meet her gaze. "You misunderstood me." She finally spoke, her voice soft yet carrying a mighty authority. "I do not harm those who come to me willingly. Yes, I'm a witch, but my witchcraft serves a purpose beyond your understanding." She finally convinced the elders that she was using the ancient recipes of her great-grandmother, which provide a good living for herself and her family, that she meant no harm. "Okay," one of the elders said, "but you will have to take oath to prove that you mean no harm to the villagers and that your food is not harmful too." Momo looked at the sky for a few minutes, and she said, "Okay. I will do as you all wish." The day of the oath-taking came. Adults, teenagers and children in the community of Ilolo gathered in the village square, waiting for Momo. Few minutes later, Momo arrived dressed with black and black attire. The king of the village arrived shortly too. The king's representative, Chief Manto, stood up, greeted the king and everyone present, then he proceeded. "The village has been known for good deals and peace from time immemorial, but all of a sudden, the villagers are engulfed with fear because of you, Momo. We plan to banish you from this village before we send some people to you. Since you've convinced them that your magic is not of evil, because you and your husband Orogba are from this land, we have decided to give you fair hearing. You will your innocence by swearing with the spirits of the forefathers of the land of Ilolo. Do you accept?" "Momo," Chief Manto said. "Yes, sir," Momo replied. Then the king asked Momo to hold the royal scepter and repeat the words of Chief Manda. Before Chief Manda started the declaration, he saw a young girl coming from the stream. Then he called the girl, "Bring that water, my daughter." The girl gladly obeyed. Then he said, "Momo, use your hands and drink from the water. Water has no enemy, no man can stop a river from flowing. Peradventure you have swallowed some things so that this oath will have no effect. This water will neutralize it and the oath will take its course." The villagers echoed easy. Momo obeyed. She drank the water. Then Chief Manda said, "Repeat this after me." The truth is, Momo was indeed a wicked and terrible witch. Before she went for the oath-taking, she did magic so that the oath she would take in the village square will have no effect on her. She used her diabolic power to put magic bag in her throat so that all the oaths she would take in the village square will land in the magic bag her throat. Then her throat. For the magic to be potent, she was not supposed to eat anything or drink anything till she removed the magic bag from her throat. Reasons that one of the ingredients she used for the concoction was salt and white chalk. Momo's 2 children and her husband were waiting patiently for her to return. They wanted to follow her to the meeting, but she refused and told them it wasn't safe for them. Yes, though Momo was the woman, she has changed her husband's status with her magical powers. Momo was in charge of everything in the family. She makes decisions, no one dares to question. Her husband Orogba was just like her servant. The family of Orogba, knowing who Momo was, were too scared to confront her, though they've had many fights in the past for the same issue, to the point that they've decided to seek solutions from far and near in order to set their brother Orogba free. Momo returned, and she was so tensed. Orogba and her 4 children, Iro, Ora, Otie, and Belitu, were curious. And they asked her, how did it go? She snubbed them and went into her room. They were surprised. Momo went inside her sacred room, which no other person has access to, and locked the door. She quickly started her rituals and incantations to remove the magic bag in her throat. When she removed, she screamed. The magic has been neutralized because of the water she took in the village square. She tried to fix it, it didn't work. The salt and the native chalk has melted. The next day, before the cock rose, she went for a long journey to fix what might lead to her downfall. She visited 7 powerful witch doctors in 3 villages to help her avert the curse. The witch doctors provided different remedies. The first native doctor, Azu, was known to be very powerful and wicked. There was a time in his village. The village of Ekoto, when he stopped rainfall for 3 years because the king summoned him because of what he did to a 15-year-old girl and her mother Odano. Odano was a widow. In the village of Ekoto, she was poor and helpless, raising her 3 children all by herself, since the tragic death of her husband who drowned while fishing. Her husband Kikido was a fisherman, who has won many swimming competitions during Ekoto Fishing Festival that was done yearly in Ekoto village. The misery of only him not being able to swim when their boat capsized during fishing is still questionable till date. During the last fishing festival, when the young girls were dancing, Azu saw Odanu's daughter, Bombay, and immediately he ordered his boys to summon her before him. From that moment he used magic on her. Bombay completely forgot everything. Then he took her home to be his 7th wife. The news reached Odanu, then she ran to the king to help her save her daughter from Azu. Immediately, the king summoned all the elders and they sent for Azu. When he arrived, the king was furious. He said, "Azu, you are doing too much now. I've been quiet since. Now you have bitten more than you can chew." Since Odano lost her beloved husband to the cold hands of death, she has been taking care of her children. Allow, if you want to marry her daughter, why take her forcefully? It is not allowed. I will not allow such in my village. Then the king said, "Undo everything you did to that girl and send her back to her mother now, or be ready to leave this village immediately." Azu replied, "All right, I have not done anything to her yet. I send her back to her mother." Then he left. All the elders were surprised. Azu is known to be very arrogant and wicked. How come he obeyed with ease? Then one of the elders said, "He knows he is not above the king. Unknown to them, he has a deadly plan." Few months later, it was time for planting. There was no rainfall. The villagers waited till it became suspicious. Then they cried to the king, "It seems the gods are angry with us," they cried. So the king summoned all the seers in the village. And they all gave the same response. "The sky has been cursed by a man from this village. The rain will not fall for 3 years," they said. "It's only the person that cursed the sky that can revert it," they concluded. And left. The king thought all through the night to know whom he might have offended. But he couldn't. King Adelik was a peaceful and good king. So he summoned all the seers again the next day, to tell him the person he has offended. And one of them replied, "Azu, the native doctor. The day you stopped him from marrying Bombay, Odanu's daughter, you became his enemy. That same night, he placed curse in the sky of Ekoto that rain will not drop on it for 3 years. Immediately, the king took his guards and went to Azu's house. His plan was to settle peacefully with him for the sake of the community, but it was too late. Azu has got on exile. The wives told him, that very day, after Bombay's incident, after cursing the sky and the land of Ekoto, he told them he was going for exile for 3 years in a faraway village to acquire more powers. The king and the elders started looking for solutions. They started looking for who to avert the curse, but to no avail. They visited many strong men and women in different villages, but no one could break the curse of Azu. Their reasons were, as they were trying to break the curse, Azu was tightening it the more, with the new powers he was acquiring on exile. Azu finally returned back after 3 years. Before that time, the rivers have dried up. There was a great famine in the land of Ekoto. The good people of Umok village, the neighboring village to Ekoto, were supplying them food for free. King Adelik's second wife was a princess of Umok, and there was a good relationship between the two villages. So the king of Umok begged his people to assist the people of Ekoto during their crisis. He even asked them to stop bringing foodstuffs to his household, which the villagers normally do to honor the king, but the people insist that they why. The people insist that they will still bring food to his household and also support their neighbor Ekoto, because the king of Umok was also a good king. When Azu arrived, without hesitating, he went to his shrine, he brought out his calabash, he did some incantations and began to dance. As he was dancing, the sky began to change, it became clouded. The villagers were surprised. "It is about to rain," they said. Then, the news went round that Azu has arrived. There was a great joy. Shout of joy was all over the village. People started running to Azu's house to confirm his return. In no time, his house was filled up with the people of Ekoto. Suddenly, there was a great wind. The wind was so strong that it fell so many trees, almost all the villagers' huts collapsed, including Azu's wife's huts. One of the villagers screamed, "I knew this will happen." The rain was held for too long. A moment later, the rain started. The rain was so heavy that the village was almost swept away, and it continued for 3 days non-stop. After the incident, the villagers became more scared of Azu. Even the king was so scared to confront him, thinking he might cause another chaos. The second witch doctor Momo consulted was a woman, Oliha. She was also feared by the villagers of Umok. She once turned the river of Umok to blood when she had a land dispute with the people of Umok, that the people started going to Ekoto to fetch water. Then the king of Umok didn't have any option than to bow and forfeit the land to her, even when everyone knew she was never the owner of the land. The remaining 5 witch doctors were from the great village of Odaira. The village was 2 times bigger than the village of Umok and Ekoto. And they were enemies of other neighboring villages surrounding them. Many times, the village of Odaira has tried to take over the lands of these 2 villages because they knew they were minor. So the village of Umok and Ekoto always teamed together to fight them whenever they throw a bullet. The last time, the people of Odaira robbed Ekoto's livestock. The people of Ekoto seek help from the Umoks and went to war with the people of Odaira. And they won, thereby recovering all their livestock from the people of Odaira. To make an everlasting bond, the king of Ekoto seek for the princess of Umok's hand in marriage. Since then, their relationship has moved from strength to strength. The people of Odaira were not good people, so it wasn't surprising that they have more than 10 powerful witch doctors. People from far and near who seek more devilish powers constantly visit Odaira. Now, Momo has visited all the 7 witch doctors. The solution to her problem was to successfully perform 21 rituals in an empty stomach. But the message was given in 7 remedies. They told her the curse will start manifesting after 3 days, so she must finish all her rituals on the night of the 3rd day. Actually, She never planned to visit 7 native doctors at once. It happened that when she visited Azu, after consulting his oracle, he told Momo remedy number 1. Then he asked her to go to village of Yumok and meet native Dr. Oleha to tell her the next thing she must do. Momo obeyed, got to Oleha's hut. When she finished her incarnation, she gave Momo remedy number 2 and asked her to go to the village of Odaira and look for Uziza, that he has remedy number 3. Then Oleha told Momo that she should be fast because she was meant to visit 7 witch doctors who will give her 7 remedies, and she must get all the answers that day so that she start the rituals immediately because her clock of doom was ticking. When Momo heard that, she ran as fast as she could to the village of Odaira. When she got to Uziza's house, he offered her water and asked her to pick one from the kola nuts that was on the floor and say what she wants the spirit to do for her. Momo whispered her heart desires into the kola nuts and returned it to Uziza. Then he went outside his hut, looked at the sky and laughed. He went inside to where Momo was sitting, and smiled. Then he gave her remedy number 3. And asked her to go to the 4th hut after his hut and meet another witch doctor, who was named Babata. Momo stood up fast and ran to Babata's hut. She was about to talk, then Babata stopped her and asked her not to worry, that her message has been delivered already. He gave Momo remedy number 4 and asked her to go back to the beginning of the village and wait under the big Iroko tree for her next remedy. Momo was already tired. Then she begged Babata if she can visit the remaining 2 native doctors whom she think might be after Babata's hut before she visit the one in the beginning of the street when she heading back to her village. No, Babata screamed. The ways of the spirits are different from the ways of mortals. You must obey the order or go home and face your doom. No, cried Momo. I will do as you say. She answered and moved out hurriedly. Immediately, she stepped out. Babata called her name. Momo, be fast, you don't have much time. As she was going, she started wondering how powerful those native doctors are, compared to her own powers. I'm still learning, she said. When I'm free from this trouble, I will come back and acquire more powers from them, especially from this man Babata, who didn't ask me anything but knew my name and everything, she concluded. Momo got to the tree at the beginning of the village, and sat down. While she was waiting for the native doctor, she slept off. Inside her dream, one woman tapped her shoulder. She opened her eyes, still dreaming. She saw an albino old woman, who has lost all her teeth. She gave her the remedy number 5 and asked her to go to the big Iroko tree at the end of the village of Odaira and receive her remedy number 6. Immediately she woke and she discovered that she was dreaming. She understood that she has gotten the message, then she headed to the Iroko tree as command. When she got there, she sat down and slept off again. The same thing happened, but this time, it was an albino old man with a full teeth in his mouth. The teeth were as white as snow. He gave her remedy number 6 and asked her to go home. Then she was curious. Please, I thought I was receiving 7 remedies. The man kept quiet and Momo woke up from sleep. She was still not satisfied. But she kept quiet. As she was going home, she saw an old woman carrying heavy loads on her head. The woman looked at her thinking she would help her, but Momo passed without helping. As she was still hurrying home, she saw 2 young boys fighting. She didn't separate them, rather she hissed and passed. As she was still hurrying home, she saw a pregnant woman who was in labor. She was crying for help. Momo passed without helping. As she was still going, she met a sick man, shaking on the floor. Momo passed yet again. When she reached the end of the village, she met an old woman. She has passed the woman without even greeting when the old woman called her name, Momo. She was shocked and she said, "How did you know my name?" The woman laughed. Immediately, she gave her remedy number 7. She thanked her. As she was about going, "Momo," she called again. "Your heart is as dark as charcoal. You passed a sick man, okay. You passed a helper old woman, okay. You passed 2 children fighting, okay. Momo, you passed a woman who was labor. That was too much. You failed your shortcut test. If you had helped any of them, just one, your sins would have been forgiven. Instantly, the gods would have had mercy on you. There would have been no need for rituals. Now, you failed your good deed test. Go and try your luck again. Go home as fast as she could. Open up on your family because you will need their help. Your time is ticking." The old woman concluded, and immediately, she disappeared. Momo ran as fast as she could because she was supposed to start the rituals that same day. Momo got home very late that day, and she met her husband outside waiting for her while her kids were already asleep. My wife said, "Orogba, I've been waiting for you since morning. You didn't tell us you would take this long." Momo looked at him and said, "I'm sorry my husband, I didn't plan the journey like this, but all thanks to the gods." Orogba was shocked with the way his wife Elolo responded. What could have happened to her, he murmured. Momo has been very rude and disrespectful to her husband Orogba ever since she started acquiring dark powers. The same powers he has used to cage him, which makes her to control him like her slave. Orogba literally has no say in their home. Everything Momo says, it's final. In fact, the villagers regard her as the husband while Orogba is usually regarded as the servant. Orogba's family weren't happy about his situation as a full Doma man, being treated like that by his wife who's supposed to be submissive. They knew Orogba was no longer in his right senses because he was the bravest, most handsome and most hardworking man in that village before he got hooked up by Momo. And they were so scared to confront Momo. Momo was only pretending to be nice to her husband because she would need his help to carry out all her rituals in order to meet up with the stipulated time. "My dear husband," she said again, "please do we have any food in this house? I'm starving." "Yes my dear wife," with a smile, Orogba brought powdered yam and egusi soup for Elolo. In few minutes, she finished everything and Orogba was shocked. "You must be very hungry," he said. "I've not eaten anything today, thank you so much," she said. Then, Orogba took the plates and cup to their kitchen. When he returned, he saw his wife, Momo, on her knees. Then he rushed to her and asked her, "What happened? Why are you kneeling down? Whatever it is, stand up," he said, but Momo refused and said, "I need your help. There are some rituals I will need to do to stay alive. And I will need you to help me get some of those things. And you will have to do it willingly and without Mama, else the charm will fail. Anything you want me to do, I will do it happily. Do you forget you're my wife?" Momo smiled. And they hugged each other. Then Momo said, "Come and sit down my husband, let me tell you everything." She continued. "First, I want you to know that I'm not innocent of the oath I took yesterday in the village square." Orogba screamed with fear, "So why did you take the oath? That oath is very deadly." And she said, "I planned my escape, everything was in control until that foolish man ruined everything for me. I did chalk and salt charm so that whatever oath I take, I will come back and vomit everything, but Chief Manto gave me water to drink. You know water has no enemy. And the charm was neutralized." Then she said, "I have 3 days to perform all the numerous rituals, else there will be doom." "What are the rituals?" said Orogba. "We will need to start immediately. First, after this food I have eaten now, I will not eat or drink water till I finish the rituals. Same with anyone who volunteers to join me." Orogba screamed. "Secondly, we have 21 rituals to complete in 3 days. The first ritual, I will dance round the whole village this night, naked with shame, like a woman who has committed adultery. And no one must see me. And I must not look back. So your work is to follow me and make sure no one sees me and distract any obstacle on my way. Second ritual, this same night, I will go to the river of Umus and bath. Then take some water from their home. Third ritual, the water I fetched from Umus river will be used to sanctify this house against the gods of vengeance. The fourth ritual, tomorrow I will go to my father's farmland very early in the morning before the cock crows, and take the sounds of the footsteps I see on the ground. And I must not see anybody when going and coming back." Orogba signed, Fifth. Orogba signed, Fifth ritual to the 14th rituals will be done in my secret chamber tomorrow. But I will need you to help me go to Umadada village, to buy me 2 white she-goats without any stripes and must not be pregnant. You will also buy me 14 white chickens, with no stains on their body. When you come from Umadada market, you will also go to Bigadu market to buy 100 pieces of chalks and 21 bags of salt. Note, the chalk must be 100 pieces and no one must break. The 15th ritual will be done in your father compound. I will need to bat cry in your father's grave to help me beg the ancestors of this village to have mercy on me, and no one must see me," said Elolo. The 16th ritual, I will need to cook and feed 7 mad people and all of them must accept and eat the food and all of them must be from this village. The 17th ritual, I will need to feed 7 pregnant women and all of them must accept and eat the food without be forced and all of them must be from this village. The 18th ritual, I will need to feed 5 albinos in this village and any neighboring village, and they must accept and eat the food in good faith. The 19th to 21st ritual, this has to do with your family and mine. I will cook for them, they will eat and pray for me. And they must do it willingly. Then she said, I don't have problem with my family except yours. Then she started crying. Orogba consoled her and promised to talk to his family. Now it was time to start the rituals. Momo knew she would have to remove the scale in her husband's eyes as instructed. It's true that, in order for her to control her husband, she used magical powers. Now she will need to neutralize that because her husband will have to do everything willingly. Momo went inside her secret room, came back with water and asked her husband, Orogba, to wash her face. Orogba was curious and Momo said, please wash your face. Then he obliged, thinking it's part of the ritual. He went outside and washed his face. As he was washing his face, he felt solid materials falling off, but he was not seeing them. He continued until he was no longer feeling that. Immediately he regained some consciousness. He stood outside gazing at the moon shining bright. He started soliloquizing. What happened to me? Why do I feel strange? Momo already knew how he will react, hid behind the door, shaking. What will happen now? Will he agree to help me with the rituals again? She murmured. At that moment, Momo's hand pushed the door. Orogba heard the noise and said, who's that? He entered and saw Momo. Why are you hiding? He said. Momo decided to confess to him. She said to herself, Orogba truly loves me. Let me put love to taste again. My beloved husband, she said. I have a confession to make. Orogba was still curious and he kept staring, looking straight to Momo's eyes. Momo continued, I've controlled, embarrassed and humiliated you for many years. I have used you like my servant. Orogba, still looking surprisedly, I charmed you, she said. I've been very wicked. You've done everything out of your senses. Orogba was amazed. Then he said, but you were a good and caring girl when I married you. What happened? Greed, she said. Then Orogba screamed, greed, but I provided almost everything you wanted. Momo cut in and said, almost but not everything. Yes, you were hardworking, caring and loving, but I wanted more. I wanted expensive clothes and beads just like my friends Olema and Oligo. I wanted a luxury and royal lifestyle just like my friends. Orogba angrily said, they could afford those clothes and beads because they were princesses. Oh, I see why you threw yourself over the prince yet he refused to choose you. You're a disgrace. Momo remained calm. Orogba was still quarreling, saying so many things, how he was strong and industrious. Then he looked at Momo and asked, what did you do? What happened? Momo sat down and begged him to do the same. Then she started crying, I'm sorry. I know Orogba cut in, screamed and asked her to speak up. At this point, the children woke up and rushed to the living room. Then they saw their mother and their first daughter, Iro, said, Mother, what happened? Why did you stay that long? Momo was about to talk, but Orogba asked her to stop. He said, it's late. They should go back to bed now. Iro, your mother will talk to you all in the morning. They agreed and went back to sleep. The children were surprised because that has never happened. Their father has never talked to their mother like that. In fact, their mother was the head of the family. They were about entering their rooms. Iro stayed back and hid behind the door. The rest children did the same. Orogba, thinking that the children were sleeping, was calm in order not to wake them up again. Momo, tell me everything. If you know, I will help you with the rituals. Momo smiled and said, I thought you didn't remember. Orogba said, I remember the 21 rituals. So tell me everything else. Okay, Momo said. Momo started her confession. My husband, when you were unable to provide that luxury lifestyle for me, I sorted for it myself. You remember Lagbeja? Orogba said yes, your late cousin who was a witch native doctor. Momo said yes. I heard she gives wealth, so I went to her, so that she will give us too. I actually wanted her to help you acquire more money so that you are able to provide more for me. But she refused. She advised me to fight for myself, that you will abandon me for another woman when you become successful. I declined until she told me her life history. She told me how she went across 7 seas in order for her husband to gain wealth. Yet he impregnated another woman just few months after he became wealthy. She said that was the first murder she committed. Yes, she went to the 7 seas to switch the wealth to herself. When they told her, it can't be done unless he dies, she didn't think twice. She didn't think twice before she took his life. On hearing this, Momo said, I was afraid that you might do the same thing. So I did the wealth rituals for myself. But I went overboard. The first time, the ritual was simple. I was asked to provide 1 goat, 20 kola nuts and 10 butternuts. So Lagbeja asked me to start up a business that I will prosper from there. That was when I started selling food. The business was growing, but I was still not able to buy the luxury things I tasted for. Your Orogba was still doing well. You were providing for me. I was getting money from my food business, yet I was not satisfied. I needed more. Now the confession was getting more interesting. Orogba was restless already. Momo continued her confession. She confessed how she went back to Lagbeja. She told her she wanted more wealth. Then Lagbeja told her she would need to do more too. Momo didn't know it was behold human. Lagbeja asked her to go home and think about it. Even when Momo told her she was ready, she refused and asked her to go home. The 3rd time, she went back to her. She refused till I visited the 7th time. The 7th time, Momo was so angry with Lagbeja and told her so many wrong things, how she didn't want her to be rich and wealthy like her, how she was selfish and so on. When Momo didn't stop talking, Lagbeja screamed at her and told her she was only protecting her conscience. That the journey of quick wealth is dark and furious. So Lagbeja looked into Momo's eyes and asked her again if she was really ready to sell her conscience for the sake of wealth. Momo didn't think twice and she said yes. She ran into her hut, brought out a bean cake from a calabash and gave it to Momo. Eat it, she said, finish it. Then she asked her to go home and come back after 3 days. That night everything changed. Momo continued her confession. She told Orogba how she became a witch. That night, she became a witch and started seeing strange things. She went back to Lagbeja after 3 days. She told her everything. Lagbeja welcomed her and gave me a bottle of blood. That she should be adding it to the food she sells. Momo wanted more explanation, but Lagbeja told her to do as instructed. Lagbeja said, from now on, this blood will take the place of red oil in your soup. Go, come back in 1 week's time and tell me what you see. Momo went back home. As she was cooking the next day, she added the blood as instructed. Immediately a strange aroma popped up. The atmosphere changed. The aroma was so strong and beautiful. Suddenly the villagers started queuing for her food that was not ready yet. She cooked their times that day and everything finished. In 1 week, she has made 10 times the money she used to sell before. 1 week later, Momo went back to Lagbeja and told her about the magic. Lagbeja dressed beautifully just like a princess and she was so happy. Momo said, now oh know how you buy these luxury clothes. She smiles. Lagbeja replied, Momo, I can enjoy all over you, but the task is not over yet. I will do anything. Momo said. Momo told Lagbeja that she needed more blood, that the one she gave the other day was finished. Lagbeja laughed. It's not that easy to get, my dear. You will have to sort it yourself. I only gave you a sample. Lagbeja proceeded and told Momo that the day she made her a witch, she automatically gained magical powers. From now on, people will come to you for help. You will use those powers to grant them their help. In return, don't accept money. Any money you collect from them, you will lose in tenfold. So the only thing in exchange is their blood. Tell them to donate their blood in exchange of what they want. And they must do it willingly, and you must not take too much, else the person will die. Lagbeja showed Momo how she will be collecting the blood. Momo paused for a moment and said asked Lugbeja how she will announce to people that she has suddenly become a witch doctor. Else nobody will patronize her. Lugbeja asked her to go home and create a sacred shrine in their house, and it must be their house. She gave her incense and asked her to burn it every day. When you do this, the vulnerable people who need your services will be attracted to your house. Lugbeja said. She looked at Momo again and said, Momo, you are now a witch doctor. Momo objected and said no, her husband Orogba will not allow that in their home. That Orogba doesn't like fetish things or witchcraft. She will send me packing, Momo said. Lugbeja laughed wickedly. I told you the journey to fast riches is dirty, didn't I? That blood is your wealth. And the blood must be taken in exchange for your services willingly. Don't forget that. No problem, I will give people money and ask them to donate their blood, Momo said. Lugbeja laughed again and said, that process will be too clean. It won't work. You must use your magical powers to provide magical solutions, then in exchange get their blood and use it to cook. That's it, the only procedure. That's the only blood that will work for you. Follow my lead, Momo, and see how you will be among the richest and most prominent women in the village of Ilolo. Momo refused and decided to quit everything at this time. I can't be a witch doctor, she said. Lugbeja shut her up. Keep quiet, Momo. I warned you before. Do you think the things of the spirit are jokes to you? You think you can start today and stop tomorrow. It doesn't work that way, my dear. You're not going back, else you die. Lugbeja continued laughing wickedly. Momo left her shrine angrily. She actually vowed never to return. When Momo got home, her husband was so happy. Why are so happy, she said. Then Orogba told her she's been made the woman leader in one prominent social meeting in their village. This is a position which only the rich can obtain. She was shocked. She wondered why they chose her. The same meeting she was rejected. The same meeting she was rejected 5 times. Now they've seen how she's making money now. How did she suddenly become worthy? Momo said angrily. Orogba said, you've always wanted to be part of them, so forget what has happened in the past and accept the offer. The next day, Momo went to the meeting to accept the offer. She was asked to pay a huge sum of money and other requirements to be eligible as a new member. She paid immediately because she had the money. She was told to go and buy the 7 different expensive uniforms they use for different events and gatherings. That night, Momo couldn't sleep. In just a week, the villagers has begun to notice me, she said. Before now, they respect me because of my husband Orogba, but the difference is clear. Money is good, oh. Money brings so much respect. Imagine the great Ososo Social Club of Ilolo meeting, that I was not allowed to be a member before. Now I'm their chair lady because they've seen that I'm making plenty money in my food shop. What do I do now? I can't go back to where I was last week, and Orogba will never accept shrine in this house. What do I do? The next morning, she didn't have blood to cook as usual, so she cooked the food like that. Only 2 persons came to buy throughout the whole day. Her children were surprised. Mama, what happened? We didn't have customers today. We had plenty customers like week. They complained bitterly, but Momo knew what happened. And she decided to use her blood the next day. As Momo was cooking, she used knife and cut herself. Let me try small first. If it works, I will take much the way I was taught by Lugbeja. As she was bleeding, she pressed some drops of blood inside her pot of soup. Immediately the strange, beautiful aroma filled the air. She was happy and she decided to be using her own blood instead. To her highest shock, something happened. When she tasted the food, it was very bitter. She called her daughter to check. She did and spake out immediately. Mama, why it is so bitter? Iro said. Momo knew what happened. We will not sell today, she said. She decided to go and see Lugbeja again. This time, she promised to beg for a better way out. When she got there, Lugbeja was upset, then she begged her. Lugbeja said, Momo, forget that I'm upset. I understand you. I know your husband Orogba. I know that he's brave and stubborn. I can still remember how he stood by you then. Well, the only way out now is to tie him spiritually. Make him your slave in the spirit. So whatever you tell in the physical, he will do. By so, even if you turn your full house to a shrine, he will have no say. Momo replied, what about his family member? They will know something is wrong with him. Especially his younger brother Odolo. He loves Orogba so much and they are so close as if they are twins. I know, just cage your husband and create a deep hatred in his heart for his family. For his brother Odolo. Double the hatred. You will see the result. Orogba will be by you, he will fight those who fight you and protect those who protect you. He's your slave. Slaves protect their masters, Logbeja replied. Momo asked her if there's no better option and she replied that. Momo said no. She used the previous option. Orogba's spirit was caged and Logbeja gave Momo the magical incense she rejected before. When she got home, she created a sacred shrine and did the rituals and incantations as instructed by Logbeja. She started burning the incense that night. Poor Orogba, he never asked. Just the next day, people started coming to Momo's shrine with different problems. Some came for love potions, some came for strange sickness, some came for wealth, some came for revenge, some came for protections, so on and so forth. Momo provided their solutions in exchange of their blood. Some wise people rejected it because they knew the blood might be used for something evil even though they don't know the exact thing, but those under pressure, especially the most vulnerable, those ill with strange sicknesses, donated their blood willingly. This went on for many years. Momo became so wealthy. Now she has many employees because she, Orogba and her 4 children could no longer do the whole work. Everyday people came from different villages to buy her magical food. The aroma and taste of her food was the talk of those villages. One day, Momo's daughter was very ill. Just the way she has healed people with her magical powers, she did same to her daughter, but it didn't work. She was surprised. So she went to Logbeja to know why. This time, Logbeja has been so sick and weak. In her lying state, Momo explained everything to her and she smiled. Momo, your daughter will need to give her blood. No, oh. She can't. That's my daughter. Then Logbeja revealed the shocking revelation. I will advise you to never use your magical powers on your children, because it comes with a great repercussion. I do not understand, Momo said. Logbeja continued, people give you their blood in exchange for your services, and the blood does magic to your food. Have you wondered why? Secondly, you told me how you wanted to use your blood and your food turned to bitter leaf juice. Do you why? Momo murmured, Logbeja continued, the moment someone exchanges her blood for your service, automatically her soul and destiny is trapped. All the people you've helped with treatments, rituals, riches, etc. Momo, they are all in bondage. They will be useless until you release them one day. Momo was shocked. Then Momo said how? Logbeja replied. When you're dead, their souls will be freed, or when you're no longer a witch. Then you will have to vomit the bean cake I gave to you. It's impossible to mortals, only the gods can do that. And the gods only do it to the ones they cherish. Momo signed. She went home and took her daughter to another herbalist. Few days later, Logbeja died. Few days later, Logbeja died. This was Momo's confession. When Orogba heard all the confession, he was dumbfounded. You are wicked, he said to Momo. I had choices to better women, but I chose you. I was the choice of many beautiful girls and princesses from this village and the neighboring villages because I was handsome, brave and hardworking. I rejected everyone because of you. I was offered money, riches and luxury by the king of my mother's village. You told her if only I agreed to marry her daughter Obi, yet I said no. The 2 princesses of our late king, who were your friends, begged me to marry any of them because they loved me so much. I refused and I never told you because I saw how strong your friendship were and I didn't want to break it. The same princesses that became your friends through me. Momo, you didn't remember where I picked you from, you didn't remember how I helped you. You were an orphan, you were abandoned and hated by everyone because they believed you were a cursed child. They believed that because of the tragic way your parents died. Your only aunt who accepted you, the same Logbeja's mother, treated you like a slave, including the same Logbeja who led you astray. The reason I came to you the first time was an intention to help you. I saw the suffering you were going through and the way the whole villagers sidelined and hated you. I felt pity for you. It was later, I developed feeling for you. Momo, if you checked all the women I left for you, you will see that you are not as beautiful as they are. But I chose you regardless. It was when the villagers started seeing us together, they accepted you. The princesses you wanted their life so badly were my friends, they became your friends through me. I wanted the best and happiness for you, yet you failed me. Momo fell on her feet and started begging. She begged and cried for Orogba mercy, forgiveness and acceptance. Orogba paid deaf ears to her and even threatened to leave the next day. Then Momo talked about the rituals that, if she doesn't start the rituals that day, she might not be able to finish it and the gods of the land will take justice on her, which she knows will be dead. Orogba shouted, yes, that's what I want. For the sake of the people's souls in bondage. You must die. Immediately their 4 children came out crying. They told their parents that they didn't go back to sleep, they hid between the door and have listened to all Momo's confessions. They blamed their mother for everything, for her greed and wickedness. Then their first child, Iro, turned to his father and started begging him to forgive their mother. Father, for the sake of my siblings and I, please have mercy on her. We had everything, we are no longer children. Myself and Soto are adults, Lilo is a teenager and Beletu is almost a teen too. We are not babies. We understand everything. My siblings and I knew things weren't ordinary in this house, so we paid close attention to mother and we discovered all her secrets. The first secret, Beletu caught her putting blood inside soup, so since that day, we stopped eating food in the shop. You notice for more than 2 years, we've cooked our food at home ourselves. Mother suspected and asked us why, then we told her, we were tired of the shop food. She never bothered us again, instead she joined us to eat the food we cook at home. Orogba interrupted and said, why didn't you tell me? And they started laughing. Father, we told everything but you asked us to keep quiet. You even punished Beletu for spying at mother. Momo calmly said, you weren't in your right senses. Iro continued begging, Father, please forgive her. If you don't help her with the sacrifice, she will die and the village elders will banish everyone in this family. Iro fell to her father's feet and started crying. The rest siblings and Momo joined. At this point, Orogba couldn't help it. He bowed. And they thanked him. Momo once again explained the whole rituals to the children, and they embarked on the journey. Now, it was already 2 a.m. They were running late. The first 3 rituals were supposed to be this night. My confession took the whole time. Momo said. She was already scared. Iro consoled her and said, Mother, the confession was necessary, she said. Now, instead of only you and Father, let us assist you. Yes, all the kids agreed, but Momo refused. Iro, you can join, but the rest can't. They can't even stay without food for a whole day. Beletu, you that used to cry because of food. They all started laughing. Iro, can you stay without food for 3 days? You have to be sure, else you might spoil the whole rituals. Orogba said. Yes, Papa, Iro replied. Beletu, all of you should go inside and sleep. Yes, Papa, they said. Okay, let's start. Orogba said. Momo took Iro and Orogba inside her sacred shrine. Did some incantations and declared the ritual started. She removed all her clothes, she started the shameful dance. Orogba stayed in the front, while Iro stayed at her back. Momo danced round the village. The moon was shining so bright and Momo was afraid that someone might see her. There was an obstacle. Orogba sighted Tegbo, the mad woman, from afar. Momo hid inside the bush and waited until Orogba was able to take her and took her far away. Finally, they finished task 1. Momo went straight to the river of Umu's and quickly took her bath. They fetched the water and ran back home. They've just finished the house cleansing with the first cock rocks. Thanks goodness we are successful with the 3 rituals. She thanked her husband Orogba and Iro. We don't have time, today is Owan day, people go to farm early, let's go fast and perform the 4th ritual. He brought out his bike, carried Iro and Momo and they went to Momo father's farmland as instructed. They got to the farm and saw many footsteps. Momo randomly took 4. I hope you have not take. The 4, Orogba said. Mother, use your magical powers to check. Momo smiled. These are footsteps of the spirits. There can never be duplicate. Momo said. Why are there so many footsteps? Iroh asked curiously. It seems they had a feast. It wasn't a feast, the spirit of our forefathers has been evoked. The elders and the whole community summoned their spirits the day of the oath-taking. Now they're coming out in mass to seek justice. This is the essence of the rituals we're doing. Momo concluded. So we are appealing to go back? Iroh asked again. No, we are begging them to have mercy on us. Orogba said. Iroh murmured. This discussion took place when they were coming back from the farm. Yes, this fourth ritual was successfully. Momo was so happy and grateful to Iroh and her husband Orogba. Momo took the son to her shrine. She did the ritual as directed by the witch doctors. She came back few minutes later with a huge sum of money. She gave it to Orogba and asked him to go to Umadada village and buy the items needed for the 5th to 14th rituals that she will be doing at home herself. Orogba left immediately. Momo took Iroh inside her shrine for the first time to assist her pound some herbs she will be needing for the rituals because she was exhausted already. When Iroh entered the secret room, she almost fainted. She wanted to shout, but Momo stopped and lied to her that if she does, she will be deaf and dumb. Immediately Iroh kept calm. Pound this alligator pepper, Momo said. We don't have time. As Iroh was pounding, she couldn't take her mind away from the whole situation. From her mother's confessions to the horrible shrine she's seeing brightly for the first time. The other night they entered, the place was dark. Contention is a virtue. Mother is facing all this because she was greedy. Not that my father was not capable. If she has waited, my father would have acquired all these things we have now. Even more. Iroh, add more alligator pepper. That one will not be enough, Momo said. Iroh didn't answer her. Momo tapped on her shoulder and said, what are you thinking, my child? Iroh shocked and came back from the land of the thinking. Mama, sorry. I think I'm overwhelmed with the whole thing. It's okay. Please add more alligator, Momo said. Yes, Mama. Momo asked the other children to go to school because she didn't want the villagers to suspect something was going on in their house. Then she asked them to stay in the shop after school because that was their normal routine. Beletu asked, Mama, are we selling food today? Will you have strength to cook? I didn't cook yesterday because I was not around. If I don't cook today, the villagers will start to suspect something. I cook my magical soup at home myself sometimes. I will cook the soup, then the workers will come and carry it and make the fufu in shop. If the villagers suspect anything, they might go a step ahead of us. Momo said. Momo and Iroh has finished preparing the things for the next rituals. As she was waiting for Orogba, she quickly cooked a large pot of her magical soup. She was just rounding up with her magical bonga soup when the workers arrived. Normally, Momo sells only one pattern of food, fufu and bonga soup. And she sometimes, when she's tired, she makes the food at home, then the workers will take the food to shop for sale. When the workers arrived, they were surprised that only the soup was ready at that time. Ma, it seems you are not too fine. Yesterday, we came to shop and Oga asked us to go home that we won't be selling food, and today, it's getting late, and only the soup is ready. Momo wanted to get upset because she doesn't like questions, but she quickly adjusted. My dear, yesterday, I went to visit my cousin who put to birth in Obairo village. And I came back late, that was why we didn't meet up to time today. Please help me explain to my beloved customers. She said. Oh, congratulations, they said. Please take the soup to shop and you all should quickly make the fufu. Yes, ma, they said. Iroh walked in. Iroh, why did you not go to school today? One of the workers asked. Are you done with your WAC? The other one asked. Iroh is sick. So I asked her to stay at home and rest, Momo replied. Oh, so sorry, they said. I'm not done with my WAC exams. It's starting next week. Thank you. Iroh replied. When the workers left, they were surprised. Madam is so respectful today, we pray she stays like this even though it's just today. They laughed. They carried the big pot of soup and went back to shop. Few hours later, Orogba came back from the market with all the ritual items. Immediately Momo went to her shrine and started the rituals. Orogba also went to see the elders in her family for the final rituals. And they promised to give him feedback the next day. Orogba came back and tells the family, "I pray they accept my food because these people hate Mama so much." Belito said, "Their reasons are justified. Your mother went too far." Orogba replied and went inside. Momo did the rituals till midnight while the family waited for a success confirmation. Moment later, Momo came out looking very tired. "The rituals have been accepted," she said. They were happy. Iro started dancing. "Where do you still have strength to dance when you didn't eat or drank anything the whole day?" Orogba said. Iro smiled and said, "Papa, we have only 7 more to go. Tomorrow is another day, please let's go and sleep." Momo said. "Wait," Orogba said, "I will advise we go and perform the 15th ritual now instead of going later. We might sleep off and miss the time. I know you're tired, manage please." "Papa is right, Mama," Iro said. "Okay, let's go." Orogba's father grave, where they are performing the 15th ritual, is their former house where they lived for many years before Momo built the house that they are living now. So that house was still vacant because no one dares to enter. The magical powers, and she has performed healing and rituals in that house. So people were scared to rent the house, thinking the house might be haunted with the evil spirits that she has cast out from her patients. So the house has been vacant for 4 years. The house mostly was the refuge of mad people when it rains. Aside that time, even the mad people were scared of the house. Momo, Orogba and Iro quietly trekked to the place because it was close to their new house. They entered inside the house and Orogba and Iro went round to make sure that there was no mad person around. Immediately, Momo went to the room her father-in-law was buried and quickly did the ritual. When they got home, she consulted their oracle and she came out from the shrine smiling. The ritual went well. It's accepted. They all smiled and they went to bed happily. The next morning, Momo woke very early and made her magical soup for her shop. Then she also cooked the food she was instructed to give mad people, pregnant women and albinos. But this time, she didn't use blood or any magic. She packed the 7 food for mad people, 7 for pregnant women and 5 for albinos. Orogba asked Momo to go and look for the 5 mad people. Iro should go and look for pregnant women and she will look for the albinos. Momo agreed, but Iro objected. "Papa, Mama must not follow us, else nobody will collect this food from us. Even the hungry mad people will reject it. We will have to look for those people ourselves, while Mama stay at home and wish us luck." "Oh, you don't really understand anything. Mama really charmed you. See, everyone in this village is scared of Mama. Some are even scared of us too." Momo sighed. "It's true." Iro continued, "We moved to this house 4 years when we built this house. Till that house is still vacant. No one wants to rent the house or stay there for free because they are afraid of us. You already know the reason why people queue for our food." Orogba murmured. Okay. Momo, stay at home. Iro, let's go." Orogba and Iro went out to share the food. As they were going, "Popo, let's go and check the health center to see if today is their maternity day." Iro said. "That's a good idea." "Iro, you are full of great wisdom," Orogba said. Iro smiled and they continued their journey. When they got to the maternity gate, behold, it was indeed maternity day. The place was so noisy. "It seems many pregnant women are around for checkup. Let's go in," Orogba said. "Papa, let me go alone. Remember, we are supposed to give just 7 food and the hungry people here are definitely more than 7. Stay here so that we don't share more than the instructed numbers. Who knows, that might spoil the ritual." "Yes, you're right, my dear. Go on," Orogba said. There was only one health center in the entire Ilolo village. It was in the outskirts of the village, which was a bit far from the people's residence and market. And maternity day was always very crowded. As a result, some pregnant women come very early without taking breakfast, and cooked food was not sold inside the health center except snacks like biscuits, water and soda drinks. So if they want a proper food, they will have to leave their queue, go inside the village to get the food, and sometimes, before they come back, their position has been taken or the nurses have called their names, then they will have to start afresh. So most times, they stay hungry till they finish their checkups, while some go for little snacks like biscuit and chin-chin. Iro went inside, greeted all of them. Immediately they saw her with food. The hungry pregnant women thought she was selling. They quickly rushed the food. They didn't even ask how much before they started eating the food. Some wanted to, but Iro told them it's finished. One of them asked, "Why did you bring this small food for sale?" "How much?" one of them asked. She was almost done with her food. "It's free." "I'm doing soloka," Iro said. The same woman who asked her why she brought small food, said, "I thought as much." They thanked her and prayed that she gets all her heart desires. And they also prayed that her marriage be blessed with many boys and many girls, and most importantly, she will not be delayed. Iro echoed Izzy. Iro thanked them and left the premises. Soloka means charity. Soloka was a popular practice among young girls in the village of Ilolo. The young girls are often advised to do soloka to pregnant women, old people, and sometimes, vulnerable people. In return, the people will bless them. So many people believe that it provides good luck in marriage. Their belief was so strong that anytime the villagers see a newly married woman with any marital difficulty, like delay in childbearing or any marital crisis, the first thing they ask the woman is, "Did you do soloka before you got married?" If no, they immediately attribute all the problems to that. And the first solution will be, go and do the soloka immediately to avoid more crisis. So when Iro told the pregnant women that the food was soloka, they immediately concluded that it was for her future marital blessings. When Iro got to her father's place, she told him everything and he was so happy. "Papa, let me do all the sharing, people might suspect you too." "Okay. Let me just follow you, you will do the sharing." Orogba said. "Papa, we have only 2 albino family in the whole of Ilolo. Can we give the 5 food to the 2 families? I'm so confused. We will have to do it like that. Even the gods are aware of that. The first family have 3 albinos. The father and 2 kids. Then, the second family has 2 albino kids. They went to the 2 families and shared the food like that. Now, they were left with the mad people. Papa, I'm happy we're done with the hardest parts. I thought the pregnant people won't accept our food. They didn't even care about my mother." Iro said. Orogba Mamad. They searched and Orogba Mamad. They searched and searched for mad people to no avail. "Where are these mad people?" Orogba said surprisedly. "They used to roam everywhere." 3 hours later, they saw one mad woman. They quickly offered her the food, but she said no. She refused and ran away. Iro wanted to chase her, but Orogba stopped her. "Remember, they must accept our food willingly." They continued searching. All of them rejected their food. This time, it was getting late and they were tired. Iro has given up, but Orogba encouraged her. They continued till midnight. The moon was shining so bright. Then they sat under the tree and were waiting and hoping for a change. Suddenly, one madman came to meet them. Before they could say a word, he carried the food bag and ran away. Orogba and Iro ran after him. He ran to their old house. They followed him. He went inside. Iro and Orogba still followed him. Behold, all 6 mad people in were there. Sitting calmly. Immediately, the one that took the food bag shared the food for them and took the remaining one. All of them opened the food at the same time and started eating at the same time. And they are so fast and we're almost finishing the food at the same time. Orogba and Iro were so shocked. They couldn't move because the whole scenario was so strange. "Iro, let's go," Orogba said. Just as they were about to leave the door, one mad woman said, "Stop." They did. "We accepted this food because of you, Iro. You're so kind. Your mother, Momo, chased us like flies anytime we go close to her shop for food. Even when we have money to pay, she still rejects us. But you, Iro, give us free food with the slightest opportunity you get. Momo did too much." "Oh, For her to succeed in these rituals, a goat head will need to pass through a tiny needle. I wish her luck. She started laughing. Orogba and Iro said thank you and left. They've only walked for 3 minutes, when they started displaying their madness. I thought they've regained their sanity. Orogba said. I think the gods just used them to pass a message. Iro replied. Iro, please continue to show kindness to humanity, you see it pays. Orogba said. Signed Iro. They got home late. Momo and the rest children were already outside. Iro explained everything to them. Even with the disappointment, I'm glad you succeeded, Belito said. Momo once again thanked her whole family for standing by her. Iro told them what the mad person said. Ota laughed and said, is it the rituals we are almost done with or another one? They all burst into laughter except Momo. Who knows if that's not a prophecy from the gods? She thought. They all went to bed. The next day, which was the third and the last day of the sacrifice, Momo managed to cook her magic soup. Iro was so down and tired. She couldn't even assist her mother. Momo comforted her and asked her to rest as she will manage. Orogba came out dressed. Where are you going? Momo asked. I want to go and see my brothers. They promised to get back to me yesterday but they didn't. Let me go and see them before the food gets ready. Alright, Momo replied. When Momo finished cooking the Soloka food, she packed the food for her family and the food for her husband's family separately. Iro came out from her room and said, Mother, it seems you're done. Yes, my dear. Since your father is not back yet. I want to deliver my family's food first. Momo replied. Mother, your family might also not collect from you, and even if they do, they might not eat the food. You've never given them anything before. Many times, they came to you for help, you declined because of the way they treated you in the time past. If you take the food to them yourself, they will suspect something, they might even think it's poisoned. It's true, oh. Momo replied. Let me go, they will think it's my marriage Soloka food. Iro said. But you look so weak. Don't worry, Mama, I will manage. Iro carried the food and left to her mother's family. Just as she planned. The family thought the food was her marriage Soloka, they accepted it and asked her to wait. The senior man in the family called her son to inform the other family members. In no time, all of them gathered together and asked Iro to serve the food. They ate and prayed for her. One of the elder, Ozomo, stood up and appreciated Iro. Iro, you're a very wise child. Even when your mother has neglected us, you still remembered that you have a mother side. You know, because of what happened in the past, your mother has vowed never to associate herself with us. If she had followed you here, we won't have touched this food, but since you came alone, we couldn't help it. Thank you for seeing us worthy. Iro burst into tears and apologized on her mother's behalf, and she promised that from that moment, things will change for the better and she make sure her mother come to see them very soon. They thanked her and she left. Even when she left, Momo's family couldn't stop to admire how humble, kind and wise she was. She took after her father, not that her wicked and heartless mother. Ozoma said, when my son Ife was very sick, Momo asked me to donate my blood before she treat him. What? And you never told us? Elder Otabu screamed. What would you have done? Fight her. Ozoma replied. What's she doing with blood? Another elder asked. Nothing, I believed she didn't want to treat my son. Thanks to Olugbeja, who later treated him for free. She has nothing to do with blood. Is she a nurse? Ozoma continued. Momo is not only wicked but greedy. With all the money she has, do you know, she takes half of the crops I realize from her father's farmlands every year. Ozoma continued. What? Why? The elder screamed. That woman is cruel. It's as if I'm just working for her. She knows when the crops are due for harvesting. Once she noticed that, she calls me for the sharing. This has been go. Ever since my farmlands were weak and you all advised me to leave it to mature for 5 to 6 years. When that happened, what will my family feed on was my concern. When I noticed Momo and Orogba were no longer farming, I approached Orogba, who told me he has left his own for his brothers already. I didn't want to meet Momo before, but Orogba asked me to. To my greatest shock, Momo asked me to be paying heavily when I begged her for a lesser option. She brought this. I left initially, but I had to go back because I realized my family will starve. You all are also managing. You won't have let me starve, but the burden and pressure would have been too much for you. So I accepted. Do you know, for the past 3 years, all the fufu she sells in her shop are from my farm. Yet, when I send Ife to buy me food from her shop on credit, she will chase him out. Ozoma concluded. All of them had 1 or 2 ugly encounters with Momo, but Ozoma's own was the worst. Elder Otabu said. Back to Momo's house. Iro told her mother everything that happened in her family house. Momo was shocked. Why do they hate me this much? Iro interrupted her. Mother, you also did too much. Stop. Do you know what I went through with those people? They abandoned me when I had nothing. They treated me like a slave. My parents died on the same day, cholera. They didn't know what cholera was then, and how to treat it. They didn't know with common sugar and salt the person might survive. Many people died that time, but when it got to my family, they put the whole blame on me. They said I was an evil child, that it was also because of that my mother didn't have another child after me. A 7-year-old me was accused like an adult. The only woman who accepted me, my Aunt Oni, Lugbeja's mother, treated me like a slave. Now that I'm rich, they want to reap where they did not sow. Never. Momo said. But you needed their help now. If it was not me, they would have rejected your sacrifice, and you know what that means. Mama, it's hard time you adjust. I acknowledge that they wronged you, but try and forgive and forget, because life is a circle. We don't know what the future holds. Who would have thought that the great Momo will need the help of mad people? We beg them to eat the same food you chase them from every day. That's life. You can't have it all. After this time, if you ever get a second chance, please use it and change for the better. Iro concluded and left to her room. Murmured Momo. Iro has really grown. I wondered where she got this whole wisdom from. She smiled. Can I ever change? She thought. That moment, Orogba came inside. How did it go? Momo asked. They don't want your food. Oh no. We made mistake. Iro would have taken the food and they would have thought it's her marriage soloka food. She's just coming from my family, and they accepted her food thinking is her soloka. Orogba hissed. My family are known as the wisest and the most dignified in the entire village of Ilolo. Why did I go and inform them in the first place? Before you do any time with them, they must be informed beforehand, else they will reject it. It seems you've forgotten them. I thought you said they will listen to you. Momo replied. I told you that when I was still in your cage. I didn't know many things has gone wrong. For 12 years, you caged my spirit and I didn't know what I was doing. I went there as if everything was normal. But I was surprised the way my uncle, Azusa, screamed when he saw me. He screamed so hard that my uncle Im in the next compound heard and ran to his rescue. Uncle Im came and also screamed. Before you knew it, the whole place was filled up. I was lost. Then my brother picked sand from the floor and threw it on my body. I was shocked. Are you mad? I said. He hugged me and started crying. I thought you're a ghost. I was still lost. Everywhere was calm. Everyone was silent. My uncle Azusa looked at me and said, why are you here? I came to tell you all that I will be bringing Soloka food next tomorrow. Uncle Azusa's wife, Emila, stood up and started dancing. Iro is so kind and respectful. I know by now, noble men will be coming for her hand in marriage. I wanted to tell them the Soloka was not for Iro's marriage. But I was still carried away with their behavior, especially my younger brother Odolo. The women were dancing, happy. Suddenly, Uncle Im shut them up. Women always carried away by emotions. Stop and remain calm. The women quickly kept quiet. You've forgotten the prophecy so soon. I'm so sure the food is from Momo, not Iro. Even if it was Iro that here herself, I would have still doubted. Emila, You and the rest women should go and make delicious meal for our beloved brother who was lost but is found. Thanks to our forefathers. Uncle Azusa looked at me and said, we know you don't understand anything yet. Let's go inside. We will explain everything to you. That was how they started explaining. Orogba continued. Momo, you already know, my extended family is large and not weak. And we care so much for each other too. I was a man of great value. Respected by the big and small. I was brave, hardworking and very industrious. All of a sudden everything changed. They said, I became so weak and lazy. You treated me like your servant, you used me anyhow you wanted. They said I stopped acting like the man of the house while you took charge. They were surprised, the whole village of Ilolo were amazed and they started asking them to look for solution. They said they also noticed your sudden strange behavior and the wealth you were acquiring and they knew the truth wasn't far from you. They said. Many times, they confronted you but I chased them away. They said the last time I visited them was 9 years ago. During my father's burial. They said, I took them to the king's palace 5 times that they were CA. They said, I took them to the king's palace 5 times that they were causing trouble in my home. I believe it was still your spell, Momo. They said, at this point, they knew something was wrong with me. So they embarked on a journey. They said, they went far and near. Indeed, they discovered the truth. But they couldn't find an easy solution. Just like what Lord Beja told you. I will only be free the day you die. They said, they didn't stop. They kept searching for solutions. They said, just 3 years ago, they got a prophecy that your doom will come. But they will have to choose me or choose you. They didn't understand, they begged the seer to explain more but he refused and asked them to go home. Momo, they have been waiting for this time since. Orogba explained. Momo fell on the floor and started crying. But I freed your spirit now, she cried. I'm not through yet, Orogba said. He continued. Momo cut in, but you didn't tell me, they reacted like this 2 days ago. Have you joined them now, Momo said and still crying. Orogba continued. Actually, all this happened 2 days ago when I went there. After telling me everything, I told them some of your secrets. What, Momo screamed. Iro heard and came out. What happened, Papa? Your father has killed me, oh. Your father's family knows our secrets now. What? Iro exclaimed. Papa, please explain what happened. Orogba continued. He explained everything to Iro just as he did to Momo initially and Iro started crying. They must have really missed you. Papa. Mama really dealt with them, she said. What did you tell them? Iro asked again. When I found out that they knew the food was for Momo, I still lied that the food was for you, Iro, but they refused and said that even if the food was actually from you, they will not eat it as long the food was prepared in my house. Okay. I decided to cook another food in our family house, they still refused. Okay, I said, you will cook yourself, they refused. Then I started begging. After a while, Uncle Im stood up and said, okay, we accept. Go home now. We will give you feedback tomorrow, we will send your brother to your house tomorrow. Make sure you hear from us again before you bring the food, he concluded. That was how I left that day. I kept all of it to myself because I felt it wasn't necessary to disclose it and I didn't want you all to be discouraged too. So this morning, since they didn't send my brother, I decided to go see them before you finish cooking the food. When I got there, I saw they were already in a meeting, they were about to send for me when I came in. You will live long, Uncle Azusa said. I greeted them and sat down. Then I told them the food was on fire. Tufiakwa, Uncle Im said, we can never accept that food, he said. At this point, I was upset, but you told me you've all accepted that day, he said no, they won't accept. As I was quarreling, I mistakenly said, do you want bad things to happen to my wife? Immediately the whole place was calm. That was when I realized I've made a terrible mistake. So I needed to clear else that statement, else the matter will be more complicated. So in order to vindicate your mother, I told them, Momo is using magical power to sell her food, that's why people always have the urge to buy from far and near. Then, Uncle Im asked me, why the Salaka? I lied and I told him, that's the ritual. To keep the business going. Then he asked me again if the business doesn't go on, will she die? I said yes. Momo might die of heart attack. See, the secret I revealed was of no use because they have discovered the truth. The truth is, that first day we met, immediately I left, that very day, my family sent Uncle Im, my brother Odolo and my uncle wife Emila back to the seer who gave them the prophecy of doom 3 years ago. This time, he explained the prophecy to them. He explained all Momo's secrets including the blood and the people in captivity. They said that, the seer told them, they will have to choose, is either they choose to free the hundreds of people in Momo's captivity or Momo. They said, if they eat Momo's food, those people will remain useless and in bondage for a very long time. No power will be able to set them free, but if they refuse the food, those people will be free but Momo will have to face the vengeance of the gods. Iroh was calm, confused and frustrated. This is not the first time I'm thinking about the people in bondage. She said. Orogba murmured. Now you understand. I don't know the kind of bondage I was all these years but I know it won't be as tough as theirs yet I'm confused this much. At least, I was not completely useless. Beletu is 11 years old, that means we had her when I was caged. My elder said those people in Momo bondage are completely useless. Some are mad, some are sick, some are barren, some are wayward, some are poor, some are in prison, others are with one calamity or the other. At this point, I'm confused. Orogba concluded and went inside his room. Momo started crying, and she was begging Iroh to help her talk to her father. It was getting late. Momo got so tense that she was having seizure. And Iroh has been begging his father since noon. Now she has given up. Now, Momo was waiting for her doom. Odolo has missed his brother's company so much. They used to be very close. And they looked so much alike too. Some people in the village even thought Orogba and Odolo were twins. So Momo cut off their relationship the day she caged Orogba's spirit because she knew Odolo was a threat to her. Yes, Odolo would have been a might threat, he won't have allowed Momo to treat his brother like a slave. So Momo created a deep hatred in the heart of Orogba against his brother Odolo. So anytime Orogba sees Odolo he chases him with anything he sees or has. One day, Orogba saw Odolo on his way to the farm, and he started chasing him with the cutlass he was holding. When he couldn't get hold of him, he threw the cutlass and it almost cut off his neck. It was a great shock to Odolo. What if I didn't bend my head, he said. Since that day, anytime he sighted Orogba from a far distance, he flew. Even the villagers know about it, so anytime they sight Orogba, they alert his brother to run for his dear life. So for 12 years, Orogba and Odolo were apart. Even during their father's burial, Odolo still ran away from Orogba. When Odolo found out that the scale in his brother's eyes has been removed, he was so happy to be part of his life again. Before midnight, there was a knock in Orogba's house. It was Orogba's brother, Odolo. I couldn't sleep, my brother. You left the meeting with a broken heart. How are you? Odolo said. Orogba hugged his brother, immediately he fit on his feet. I was about coming to your house. You see, blood is strong. Please help me. Stand up, my brother, Odolo said. No matter what Momo has done, she's still my wife. I still love her. Come and see her. She's dying already. How can I just wait and watch the mother of my children die like a chicken? My children will hate me forever. I will rather die, before he mentioned die. Odolo stopped him and said, I will eat the food. For your sake. I know you will need help, that's why I'm here. Orogba hugged him again and thanked him. Immediately, Orogba said, Iroh, bring the Soloka food. As she was bringing the food, Beletu screamed, Mama is dead. Oh. The food fell from Iroh's hand. They rushed to Momo's room and saw her lifeless body on the floor. Odolo quickly bent down and checked her heart. She's not dead. She only fainted. Bring water. Beletu quickly brought water. Odolo poured it on her body. Few minutes later, Momo woke up. And Odolo, who wasn't aware of the 3 days fasting, quickly gave Momo water to drink. Orogba and Iro were lost in thought and they couldn't stop him. Now, the time was ticking. Iro went inside the kitchen and brought another soloka food for her uncle Odolo. Uncle, please eat fast. It's almost 12 a.m. Odolo washed his hands, he ate some portion of the food and drank water. Momo was to perform the last sacrifice. They carried her to the shrine. Then she struggling performed the last ritual, but was it successful? No. From her shrine, she screamed. She fainted again. Orogba brought her out. They poured water on her body again and she woke up. Iro brought food for her. She quickly fed her some food for her to regain her strength. Why did you shout like that? She kept quiet. Orogba remembered the water she drank, she understood they broke the rule. He murmured. He went inside the kitchen and brought food for her daughter Iro, who has not eaten for 3 days. Iro also remembered the rule they've broken. My father will need to eat so that he will have strength to overcome whatever it becomes. That moment, Orogba brought the food. Iro insists they eat together. First Orogba refused. When Iro refused to eat, he agreed and they ate together. They were awake throughout the whole night. Now, Momo was able to gather some strength. Momo started. The last sacrifice was not successful because at least 3 elders from your family were supposed to eat the soloka food, and secondly, I wasn't supposed to eat or drink water till I finished the rituals. Please, whatever becomes of me, please don't cry too much, you all tried your best. Please don't get upset with your family Orogba, they did the right thing. Those people in captivity are family too. My beloved children, please use me as a lesson. Greedy, envy, jealousy, stubbornness, impatience brought me here. Your father was providing enough, but I wanted more. If only I was wanted patience, everything I acquired in the dark way. He would have achieved all in a peaceful way. Please forgive me, Odolo. I caused the hatred. Orogba was under a strong spell. Please, my dear husband, please forgive me. Don't let my children suffer. Please teach them the right path. All of them were crying, including Odolo. Orogba knelt down and started calling the spirit of his forefathers to show them mercy. 3 hours later, the first cock rose. Immediately, Momo started coughing. She vomited the same bean cake she ate in Logbeja's shrine 12 years ago. The children screamed, "What is this?" The bean cake disappeared. They were all shocked. Belitu was shivering. Iro, take your siblings inside the room and lock the door. You're innocent. What you don't know will not harm or kill you. I didn't approve you for any sacrifice, so nothing can harm you. Orogba declared. Odolo said, "Izi." The children obeyed and went inside. Momo said, that was how she was initiated to witchcraft by Logbeja 12 years ago. Orogba said, "You're free now. Your heart is clean now. They should come and take the riches they gave you and let you be," he said. Immediately, the bean cake appeared again, and it was moving round. Orogba understood what that means. Immediately, he said, "I'm standing for everybody in this family, nobody is taking Momo's place. She started it, it ends with her. Pack everything that belonged to you in this house and go." Instantly, her shrine collapsed, some things disappeared. Orogba and Odolo went inside the shrine, brought out the remaining things and set them ablaze. "Take this key, it is the key to my secret room where I keep all my money. Bring the bag of money out and burn it." Odolo stopped her, but Orogba refused. "Everything that doesn't belong to us, we will destroy all. This house I laid the foundation myself. If the gods still want us to destroy it, I will." Orogba and Odolo went into the secret room. When Odolo saw the big bag of money, he screamed. "See money, oh." "Keep quiet," Orogba said. The bag was so heavy that only Orogba could. Heavy that only Orogba couldn't carry it. They brought the bag of money out and threw it inside the fire. The money refused to burn. Immediately the fire went off. They set up the fire again, when it was burning. They threw the money bag inside the fire. The fire went off immediately. Now, Momo was waiting for her next fate. That morning, they heard a shout. Ewu! Ewu! Odolo went out, and saw people running towards their house. He went inside and told Orogba. They are coming here. Let's wait and see, Orogba said. Few minutes later, the villagers were in their house. Fire, fire! Your wife's shop is burning. The fire is too high that we couldn't put it off. It looks straight because when we put water, the fire increases. The villagers said, panting. What? Just go home, we will go there now. Thank you, said Orogba. The villagers left curiously. He's not even bothered, one person said. They have money now, they will build new shop immediately, the other person responded. They went inside and told Momo. I heard everything, Momo said. I'm praying to the gods to take everything I acquired through the magical powers and spare my life with mercy. She started crying again. That morning, there were noises everywhere, loud noises were coming from every part of Ilolo village. Orogba went to see. Where is the noise coming from? Odolo asked. Everywhere, he replied. The people in captivity in Ilolo village have regained their freedom. That's how it will be in other villages that were under my captivity, Momo said. They murmured. It happened that 9 out of the 10 mad people in Ilolo village were under Momo's spell. The 9 mad people regained their sanity. The sick ones were healed and so on. The whole village of Ilolo were filled with shouts of joy and excitement. That moment, the king's errand boys knocked at Orogba's house. Greetings from the royal house. We have a message from the king, your entire family is wanted in the palace now. Okay, go, we are coming. Orogba said. We are sorry, sir, we were asked to come back with you all. Okay, Orogba said. They all changed their clothes and followed them. When they got to the palace, the whole place was filled up. The village seer was also present. Orogba and his family greeted the king, the elders and the villagers. You're welcome. The king's spokesman, Chief Manda, responded. We called you because of Momo, your wife. He continued, we know everything that happened in your household and your wife's shop. When your wife took the oath that day, we asked our forefathers to judge her according to her deeds. Indeed, the gods are fighting for the land now. And we have decided to allow the gods to fight till the end. But the village seer has a message for her anyways. Chief Manda concluded. The seer stood up to speak. Momo, you wanted to outsmart the gods, but you failed. This day was predestined by our forefathers. Even though you have succeeded with the 21 rituals, it wouldn't have worked because your time was up. This is Ilolo village. It's different from other villages. Bad things do not prosper for too long here. You were warned many times in your dream to repent and renounce your witchcraft, but you refused. If you had turned a new leaf 3 years ago, you would have retained all your riches and business. Even though you don't sell too much, it would have been better than none. But you were greedy and selfish. Momo, you're supposed to be dead by now, but the ways of the gods are different. They've given you a second, but you will have to start afresh. They gave you a second chance because of 4 reasons. First, your husband and your daughter pleaded on your behalf with an empty stomach for 3 nights. They begged our forefathers to show you mercy. Secondly, in the 12 years of your wickedness, you didn't kill anybody. If you've killed a soul, your life or your child life would have been used for an exchange. Thirdly, no soul died in captivity. If anyone has died during the time you put them in captivity, your life won't have been spared. Fourthly, when the gods came to strike you, you were pure. You vomited the witchcraft. The gods does not kill the pure in heart. But there's one more thing. All the money you realized from using magical powers must be given to the people you kept in bondage for long. For these 12 years, you kept 126 people in bondage. The bag of money in your house will be shared equally to the people. I've given my message. He who has ears, let him hear. The seer concluded. Momo immediately knelt and apologized to everyone. Then she thanked the gods for giving her a second chance. The people were angry. Wicked woman. Devil. The seer asked the villagers to stop. Nobody must fight the one the gods has set free. Unless she will be visited by the gods. Take this as a warning, she must not be stigmatized, else you invite the punishment of the gods on the land of Ilolo. Send this message to those that are not here. The seer said. At this point, everywhere was silent. The great seer of Ilolo, how do I know all the freed people? Momo asked. The rumor will fly like a windfire. The real and the thieves will come for their share. Don't worry. When the real ones come, they will receive the money and it will bring them peace and joy. Immediately a thief touched that money, her will burn. The money will roast his or her hands, replied the seer. The seer went ahead and told her the total amount in the bag and how much she's supposed to give one person. As they were about to close the meeting, Orogba quickly asked if they can still live in their house. Yes, you can. You laid the foundation of that house with your sweat. By now, you would have built 3 of that, if you weren't kept in bondage by your wife, Momo. You are also among the people who will receive the money. Money. Don't lose hope. Your strength is restored. Start all over, it's a new dawn. The seer replied. What about my mother's expensive clothes, shoes, jewelry? Iro asked. They are all yours now. You can give your mother some, but you must not give her more than I/3 of the whole. Iro, you found favor in the sight of the gods because of your good heart, humility, and wisdom. 3 nights, you came out in the darkest of the nights to beg the gods of our forefathers. Your prayers were as pure as the sky. They were as harmless as a dove, and as cunning as a tortoise. The villagers burst into laughter. We want to know the prayer. The villagers echoed. I'm giving a message, silent, the seer continued. The prayers. He smiled. The spirit of my forefathers, Iro, is down on my knees begging for mercy for my mother Momo. She was wrong, I know. She was wicked, I know. She was guilty, I know, but show her mercy for my sake. And I promise, in return I will be kind to all humans in Ilolo. And as you show mercy to my mother Momo, please do not forget those innocent souls in her captivity. Of what use is her life, with hundreds of people are in bondage? Have mercy. Have mercy. Have mercy. This was the prayer the seer said. The villagers were touched. The prince of Ilolo should search no more for a wife, for the gods has chosen Iro to be his soulmate. And the marriage should be done in 8 market days. The villagers screamed for joy and Iro and her family were surprised. At least there's a silver lining, Odolo said to Orogba, and he smiled. The gods are indeed wise. The king said. For the past 2 years, the crown prince Okuta has been on our neck. He told us he loves Iro so much that she wants her to be his wife. But the queen and I refused because of the circumstances surrounding their family. You understand? Which sensible parents will allow their son to marry a daughter whose mother is known to be a dreaded witch? No one, my king. The crown answered. Now that the gods has confirmed that Iro's mother, Momo, is no longer a witch and she has been cleared by the gods, we don't have any objection again, right? The queen, who was sitting behind him, answered yes with a smile. At least, Okuta will allow me to drink water and drop my cup. All the villagers laughed out loud. Prince Okuta walked close to Iro. At this point, Iro was so shy. I wish this ground would just open, let me hide there first, she thought. Iro, many times, I've tried to say the same thing to you, but you run away. If you run today, I will chase you till you get tired. Iro started laughing. Iro, I love you with all my heart. The gods have confirmed it. Iro couldn't hold herself anymore. She ran away and everyone, including Momo, laughed out so loud. The meeting ended with an amusement of Prince Okuta and Iro. Just as the seer said, Momo shared all the money accordingly. She handed over all her clothes, jewelry, and shoes to Iro. Iro offered her some, but she refused. I want to start afresh in everything, please allow me, she said. Orogba took Momo to both families, they accepted her and were happy once again. Exactly 8 market days later, the marriage ceremony of the Prince Okuta and Iro took place in Orogba's compound. The prince happily took his bride home. After that season, Ozoma and Orogba's brothers handed over their farmlands to them and Orogba and Momo started their lives all over again. And they lived happily ever after. The end.
In the village of Umuaja, there lived a certain man named Okocha. He was strong, kind, and hard-working. He was a butcher. He was married to Ejiro, who was weak, lazy, and very rude. All Okocha's efforts to make her a better person was in vain, because Ejiro was never interested. Many times, Okocha's kinsmen and family visited him because of Ejiro's behavior. They even advised him to send her away and marry another woman who will assist him in his journey of life. But Okocha refused, saying that he loves his wife so much that he believes as time goes on, she will change and be a better woman. A year later, Ejiro gave birth to a bouncing baby boy. Okocha named him Ebuka. Then 2 years later, she put to birth again, a beautiful girl, and Ejiro named her Ese. Life goes on in Okocha's family. Everything would have been pleasant if Ejiro had improved a little, but she became worse. Okocha was left to do the house chores, and yet go out to look for their daily bread.
There was a day. Ebuka and Ese went to bed without food, because Okocha didn't come home on time to make dinner, and Ejiro was at home doing nothing. He felt so bad. Since that day, any time, Okocha do not finish selling his meat on time. He buys already cooked food from the market and send it home for the family. He was so kind that he doesn't buy for his children alone. Rather, he include his lazy wife's own. There was serious complaint and gossip from Okocha's family, neighbors and the whole community regarding his wife's attitude, but Okocha paid deaf ears to their complaints. Okocha continued like that. He became so stressed. By the time he clocked 47 years of age, he was already looking like a 70-year-old man. Okocha's children, Ebuka and Ese, were of different characters. Ebuka was a replica of his father, kind, strong, respectful, and very hard-working, while Ese was lazy, weak, and very rude, just like her mother, Ejiro.
At the age of 23, Ebuka has graduated from the university with a top grade, while Ise was still struggling with JAM. Few months later, Ebuka went for National Youth Service in the city of Lagos. He was posted to a reputable company for his primary assignment. Ebuka was retained by the company after service because he was good, but Ebuka kept it as a secret from the family. He said, "I will tell my lovely family when I receive my first salary." Behold, when he received his first pay, he took some days off from work to go see his family. The permission was granted. After work, he took a night bus heading to the village of Umuaja. At the village, they heard a knock at the door at about 5 a.m., and they were curious. Who could that be? Then Ejiro said, "Who is that?" Ebuka answered, "Ebuka." There were great joy in the family. For the first time in so many years, Ejiro prepared a nice delicacy for her son, Ebuka. Later that day, Ebuka broke the good news to them and they were amazed.
Ebuka gave his parent his first salary and they prayed for him. He asked his father to reduce his stress at work, that henceforth he will start to support the family. He even hired a woman to assist with the house chores, registered his father for a routine checkup in the hospital. They were so proud of him. 4 days later, Ebuka went back to work. He worked diligently and he was promoted twice in 3 years. Ebuka visited the family always that they didn't feel it, as if he was living far away. One day, Ebuka got a call from his mother that his father, Okocha, was critically ill. He fainted and he was rushed to the hospital. Ebuka's boss gave him permission to go and see him, and they even asked the company's driver to take him to the village. Ebuka met his father. He was so weak. Then he started crying. His father held his right hand. With the little strength he had, he said, "Ebuka, don't cry. You are a man. Men do not cry." Ebuka smiled at him and said, "Papa, I beg you don't die now."
Still holding Ebuka's hand, Okocha said very softly,
When I die, promise me you will take care of my wife and your sister Is. Promise me, Ebuka. At the third time, Ebuka said, Yes, I promise, Papa. Then he started crying. Okocha patted his shoulder, signing him to calm down. Then he asked Ebuka to knee down. He obeyed. He put his hand on Ebuka's head and softly blessed him while Ebuka tearfully said Amen. At a point, Ebuka didn't hear his father's voice again. His right hand on Ebuka's head fell off. Okocha has given up the ghost. He died at the age of 55. There were great sorrow and mourning in Umuaja village. He was a good man. Okocha kinsmen and the entire community were against Ejiro. They accused her for the untimely death of Okocha. Her stay in the village was frustrating and unbearable because she was treated like an outcast. The villagers stopped talking to her. They refused to sell for her except Issei. 2 months later, the burial ceremony was carried out.
Ebuka's company and his kinsmen helped him to give his father a befitting burial. As he was returning to the city, he took his mother and sister along with him to Lagos just to protect them. They lived together for 4 years. There was a time Ebuka offered to open a shop for her mother and Ese because he didn't like the way they were idle. They were not interested. Ese refused to go to school too. After much effort, Ebuka decided to leave them to their own fate. He gave them food, shelter, and good life. There was tragedy in Ebuka's office one day. His colleague forged his signature and made away with huge money. Ebuka was suspended while the investigation was going on. But when Ebuka got home, he lied to the family that he was sacked. Immediately, their attitude towards him changed. They didn't pity for him nor console him. In space of 1 month, he was already living in hell in his own house. He went through pains and torture from his own mother and sister. He was heartbroken.
He pretended to be broke and no one gave him penny. Then he started to recall how his mother and Ace used to respect and care for him. Now he's getting the opposite. Then he prayed to God to vindicate him. He started to miss his late father again. Sometimes he wished he was still alive. 3 months later, he got a call from his office. He was scared that he might be arrested. He begged his only family to accompany him. They refused. On getting to the company's entrance, he was received like a king. Immediately, the manager apologized to him that they finally caught the culprit and he confessed to the crime as well. From that moment, he was promoted to an assistant branch manager with a furnished duplex and the latest Mercedes-Benz. Ebuka arrived home with a new car and the mother and sister were shocked. What happened? They asked with shame. Ebuka replied, It took my suspension to finally see that you only want me when I can provide something. He told them everything.
He told them how he lied about his suspension, how he pretended to be broke, and the new promotion and others. He expressed how disappointed he felt and he started crying. Ebuka's mother, Ejiro, quickly fell on her knees begging, crying that Ebuka should forget them, that they do not want to return back to the village. She started saying, The villagers will never accept us. Please, my son, have mercy on us. Mother and daughter started blaming each other. Ebuka walked away from them and went inside his room. He started thinking. He didn't know the decision to take. Then he concluded on sending them back to the village. When he was still thinking, he fell asleep. While Ebuka was sleeping, he dreamt of his father, begging him to forget them. Then his late father said, Ebuka, please remember your promise and be wise. Then he woke up. Ebuka was so happy to see his father again. He started to think about the promise and the last word he said, be wise.
Before morning, Ebuka has gotten a perfect plan. He called his mother Ejiro and his sister Eze. He told them he has forgiven them. They were so excited. They hugged him. Then Ebuka said, I won't send you back to the village because of my beloved father. They screamed for joy again. He started dancing. Then Ebuka said, But you will stay here while I move to my new house. Don't worry, I will continue to pay the rent. And you are free to come visit me anytime you want, but you can't stay for more than a night. Instantly, they were so cold because they wanted to follow him to the new duplex. Slowing, they said thank you simultaneously. 1 week later, Ebuka moved to his new duplex. 1 year later, Ebuka found the love of his life. Few months later, they got married and lived happily after.
He was basically not the kind of man Anne can ever marry, but he deceived Chief Obi. Chief Obi bought a house worth 200 million for her, bought her 2 latest Range Rovers and credited her bank account with 100 million the very week she accepted to be his second wife. So more pressure was coming more from Chief Obi. At first, Anne tried to settle the dispute alone, thinking it might scare Sabinas away because Chief Obi was a very powerful man in the state. So she went to Chief's house with her 2 friends, Lucy and Kate. On arrival, immediately Chief saw her. He called Anne his beloved wife and started laughing wickedly. Anne fell on her knees and started begging Chief to let her go peacefully. Her friends too kneeled down to beg on her behalf. He laughed out loud. Then he pointed his hand to Kate and Lucy. He said, "You are my witness, or I take care of them or I not take care of them. Answer me." They quickly said, "Yes, sir." Still kneeling. Chief continued, "Una chop from the money too no be every time I dey dash una money because of Anne." They said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Anne chopped my money finish, now she say she not fit marry me again. She won't go marry one small boy one no get money. Because he fine. No fine boy and 6 packs you won't chop. Come here my girl, let me spoil you. I go buy you another house, build house for your papa for village." As he was bragging, and stopped him and said, "Please Chief, I know you did a lot for me, please I am ready to return everything. Please let me go." She started crying loudly. Still talking, she said, "I have never been this happy for a very long time. I'm already 32 years, please let me move on with my life." Then she angrily said, "Your second daughter is even older than me." On hearing that, Chief became furious and said, "Leave my house. You know no say I owed before you dey collect my money since. Anna, I don't want the things when I don't do for you, but you must marry me." Then he walked out on them and went inside. Anne started crying uncontrollably while her friends tried to console her. Anne went round to beg all the sugar daddies she has promised marriage in order to collect their money. He offered to return the money they've spent on her, some collected some of money, while some let her go free. Now, she was left with Chief Obi. Chief Obi was now torn on her flesh. He refused negotiations and he started sending thugs to harass Anne. When she couldn't take it anymore, she told Sabinas. At first, Sabinas was angry with Anne for keeping such a dangerous secret. He said, "You could have been killed and no one will know about it. You friends that know about it might be paid to keep quiet." And begged till Sabinas reluctantly accepted. They decided to face their past together and move forward in their relationship. They both acknowledged that they had made mistakes in the past, but they were willing to work through them as a team. Now, they thought of different plans. First, they decided to go to the police station. They strolled that. Then Sabinas and Anne decided to beg Chief Obi first before reporting to the police. One Monday morning, Anne called Chief and told him she will be coming to see him on Saturday morning. Chief was so happy because he has asked Anne to come and see him on several occasions after their last encounter, but she refused. Then Chief then asked Anne if she has accepted her proposal, but Anne said, "We will take when I come." That Saturday morning, Chief has taken his bath, dressed with his best attire and waiting for the love of his life. He had ordered his servants to prepare the best dish and decorate the terrace where he would be receiving his beloved guest. When everything was in order, Chief could wait no longer, so he called Anne, and received the call and told him she was few minutes away. Immediately Chief Obi went to the terrace, sat down and started practicing how he would speak to Anne with good English that he has learned for days. He actually thought Anne didn't want him because he wasn't classy and educated, so he paid someone to teach him basic English language and some social etiquettes in few days before Anne returns. Behold, the bell rang from the terrace. The chief ordered the gateman to open the gate immediately. The gate was opened. Then Anne and Sabinas entered. Chief Obi was shocked and disappointed. Chief Obi shouted angrily, "Who are you, young man?" And he said, "My name is Sabinas. And Anne's fiancé." Then Chief said, "Okay. Wait for me." and was so scared, thinking Chief was coming to shoot them. She wanted to run away, but the gate was locked. And the gateman refused to open the gate because he hasn't been ordered. Chief Obi came down, moved round Sabinas, and laughed angrily. Then he mimicked him, saying mockingly, Sabinas, I'm fiancé. English boy. Then he said, I know. And always put you in the WhatsApp phone when I buy for that bank two of you work, I have plenty money there. Leave my wife or I will make sure they sack two of you. And started crying, begging Chief to have mercy on them. As a bank marketer, and has persuaded Chief severally to deposit money in his bank. Chief Obi has lots of shares in the same bank as well. And was really scared, but Sabinas was not scared, he stood his ground. He said to Chief, please, I know she must have promised you marriage, but she can't marry you again, sir. Please take back everything you've given her and let her go. Chief remained adamant and sent them out of his house immediately. On their way home, Sabinas was so quiet and lost in thought. And was talking all along, but he didn't respond. Then Ann tapped his shoulder and said, what are you thinking about? Do you have any solution yet? Then Sabinas replied, what is Chief Obi's name? And said, Aneo. And he screamed. What? Sabinas asked again, do you know if Chief have any brother? And said, yes, I know one, Chief Emeka. He's Chief Obi's elder brother. They even look alike. He once introduced me to his brother when he came to Kano with his third wife Amoka. Sabinas stopped the car in shock and Ann screamed with fear. It happened that Amoka, who dumped Sabinas for Chief Emeka, is Chief Obi's elder brother. When Sabinas saw him, he saw the resemblance. Then he decided to just ask, and not knowing they were indeed biological brothers. Sabinas was also devastated when he found out that Amoka is Chief Emeka's third wife. Chief Emeka, Amoka's husband, do not reside in Port Harcourt where Amoka and Sabinas live. Then he came from Lagos to Port Harcourt, where he was invited to the birthday ceremony of his friend, Chief Yud, on his 70th birthday. Chief Yud's last daughter Vivian was Amoka's coursemate and friend, so she was also invited alongside with Sabinas. When Chief Emeka Aneo arrived at the party, he was highly welcomed. He was introduced like a president of a country that everyone took notice of him. That was the first and the only time Sabinas saw him, but he still has his reflection in his heart. Amoka and Chief Emeka didn't cut. The marriage arrangement was done in 3 days. Amoka assisted Vivian to pick the money that was being spread on his dad, Chief Yud. From there, she captured the heart of Chief Emeka, who was sitting, watching and admiring her from afar. After the party, Chief Emeka Aneo didn't leave immediately. Chief Yud has begged him to stay for one more day. They knew each other right from the university days until date. Their friendship never declined, though Chief Yud was 12 years older than Chief Emeka Aneo. They still relate as if they were age mates. Later that night, after they have all rested, Chief Yud and Chief Emeka were in the terrace discussing about their old times and some events that has happened in their lives. They have not seen each other physically for 4 years because they were great businessmen and they were always too busy to see each other. Suddenly, the thought of Amoka flashed through Chief Emeka's heart. Then he told Chief Yud, I saw your daughter Vivian with a very beautiful girl. He described her to be tall, slim, dark in complexion and with a figure 8 shape. Immediately, Chief Yud knew he was talking about Amoka. Then he said, you like good things too much, my friend. Then they started laughing. Chief Emeka told his friend that he was actually thinking of marrying a third wife, that if Amoka agrees, he will marry her immediately. Chief Yud told him that Amoka is a good and very intelligent girl according to his daughter Vivian. I've sent her resume to some of my friends to see if we could secure a good job for her. Chief Emeka said, there won't be need for that. Smiling. Then, Chief Yud asked his servant that was serving them to call her daughter Vivian. Their plan was to tell her to invite Amoka the next day to see Chief Emeka, thinking she has gone home already. Sabinas left Amoka after party because Vivian begged her to stay back and help her with other things. Sabinas didn't see anything wrong with that because they were close friends. When Vivian arrived, she told them Amoka was still around. Chief Emeka smiled and said, the gods are wise. Call her immediately, my beloved daughter, said Chief Yud. Amoka came, she was curious and scared, then she knelt down and greeted the elders. So respectful, said Chief Emeka. Immediately he opened his purse and gave Amoka $200 for greeting them so respectfully. Amoka was amazed. He knelt down again and thanked them. Amoka said, Chief Youth, don't worry. This is the end of suffering and struggle for you and your entire family. You found favor in the sight of Chief Emeka. He wants to you his third wife. Amoka thanked them for the proposal, but she rejected it at first. She told them she was engaged to Sabinas. He told them how Sabinas sponsored her to the university when she lost her father. She said, I lost my father the very day I was offered admission to study accounting in the University of Port Harcourt. All my uncles abandoned us after my father's burial. No one assisted me even when we pleaded. The only land my father left behind was our last hope. We plan to sell it for me to go to school, so that I can assist others when I'm done, since I'm the first child. Still, it was hijacked by my wicked uncles. I've already given up when Sabinas came. We weren't even dating because I was only 16. He took charge of all my academic expenses and still raised capital for my mother to start selling fruits. And that is where we earn our daily bread till now. He is our earthly savior. Please, I'm sorry, sir. I cannot marry you, Amoka concluded. So touching, oh Sabinas is such a good man. May God bless him, said Chief Youth. At this point, Chief Youth was so emotional. Seeing how Chief Youth was behaving, Chief Emeka cut in and said, money no be problem, my dear. I will pay him off. How much has he spent on you and your family? Calculate it, and I will pay him triple. Chief Youth was not convinced yet. Then, Chief Emeka asked Amoka, what does Sabinas do for a living? He's a banker, sir, answered Amoka. Then Chief Emeka started laughing. He started bragging, I am Chief Emeka Aneo of Emeka and Sons Limited, dealers of all motor and trailer parts, importer and exporter, and so on. He bragged and bragged, mentioning the numerous cars and houses he have and how his 2 wives go on vacations in different places all over the world. On hearing vacations abroad, she started smiling. Chief Youth was surprised. Then Chief Emeka said, marry me and watch how I will change your life in 2 days. Then Amoka said, I will marry you if you agree to help me pay for all Sabinas has done for me and my family. Chief Emeka agreed to pay. The next day, Chief Youth followed Chief Emeka to Amoka's house. Amoka was afraid that her mother will never accept Chief. Aside Sabinas, there were other things about Chief Emeka that Amoka thought would discourage her mother. Firstly, Chief Emeka was 35 years older than her. She was even older than Amoka's mother. Secondly, Chief already has 2 wives and grown-up children, of which 2 of them were already married with kids. But to her greatest surprise, Amoka's mother, Ujegbi, accepted Chief Emeka without giving a second thought. Immediately she have summoned her husband brothers that Amoka wants to get married. Amoka was shocked. Amoka's greedy uncles quickly prepared the marriage list. The next day, Amoka's bride price was paid by Chief Emeka. Amoka has returned to Lagos with Chief Emeka before Sabinas knew about it. She was already imagining herself in Paris, driving the latest Range Rover, etc. Sabinas was still calling Vivian and she didn't know what to do. Vivian was confused, then she decided to switch off her phone till further notice. Sabinas was still worried. She have called Amoka's mother and she told him that Amoka called her some minutes ago that she was coming home. Hearing this, Sabinas was relieved, so she guessed Amoka might be very tired. Maybe that's why she's behaved like that. So he decided to call her the next day. The next day, unknowingly that Amoka and Chief Emeka's marriage rite was going on in their family compound, which is 1 hour, 30 minutes from Amoka's house. Sabinas called Amoka, her phone still switched off. He called Amoka's mom, she didn't pick. He called her younger sister, she didn't pick too. Now, Sabinas was engulfed with fear. Though he was at work, immediately, he sought for permission to go somewhere that it was an emergency. It was granted, then he left for Amoka's house. When he got to Amoka's house, everywhere was locked. He asked their neighbors, but he didn't get good response because they were not informed. He tried to ask their neighbors if something was wrong. One of their neighbors John said no, I don't so because they didn't look sorrowful yesterday when I saw them. He continued, they were at home yesterday but as I woke up this morning, I noticed their door was locked. He continued, they were at home yesterday but as I woke up this morning, I noticed their door was locked. Another neighbor said, brothers, you know those people are too reserved, they don't talk to us. They don't mingle with us. Just check back tomorrow. Relax, they're fine. Because he saw the anxiety in Sabina's face. Sabina thanked them and left reluctantly. The third day, in Sabina's office, he was called by the manager. Mr. John. Prior to this time, Sabina has recommended Amoka to his company. Amoka finished her NYSC 3 months ago, and since then Sabina has been trying to get a white-collar job for her. When Sabina got to the manager's office, Mr. John said, Sabina, you've worked here diligently and I hope the person you are recommending will do the same. Sabina said, yes, sir. Smiling. Then, the manager said, okay. I will give her a try. No need for interview. Let's assume her resume and everything you've told us about her is true. Tell her to resume work on Monday, 1st of June. That's next week, said the manager. That day was Wednesday. Sabinas was so happy. He bowed and thanked the manager and left to his office. In his office, he was already picturing his future with Amoka. He said, I trust her, she will not disappoint me on this job. She's very smart. After all, I'm here to nurture her. Then he smiled and said, just work for 1 year baby, and become Mrs. Sabinas Nduka. After work, he went to a supermarket. There he bought a rose flower, a beautiful card and some romantic stuffs to celebrate the new job with his fiancée. Thinking by now, her number will go through, Sabinas called Amoka again, the phone was still off. Then Sabinas decided to go to her house the second time. As he was leaving the supermarket, he saw Vivian first. Immediately Vivian sighted him. She wanted to run, then Sabinas called him and said, Vivian, why are you running? Then she stopped and Sabinas walked towards him. Then Sabinas asked him, where is Amoka? Vivian couldn't hold back his tears, she started crying. Now, Sabinas was already shaking. He asked, did anything happen to her? Vivian said no. She asked Sabinas if he came with his car. Sabinas said no, that he was dropped by the staff boss. So Vivian told him, enter the car, let me take you home. We need to talk. Sabinas agreed, still dwelling in confusion. They got to Sabinas' house, then Vivian asked him if his younger brother was still living with him. He said yes. That he just got admitted into the university, that he goes to school from home. At this point, Vivian was a bit relieved. At least someone will be at home to watch over him. They knocked and Sabina's younger brother Terry opened the door and greeted them. He offered Vivian drink and water but she said no, that she was okay. Sabina's looking straight to Vivian's eyes, patiently waiting for her to talk, Vivian went straight to the point. Brother Sabinas, Amoka is married. He married Chief Emeka Aneo. My father's friend. Her bride price was paid 2 days ago. And as I speak to you now, she's already in Lagos with Chief. Sabinas was flabbergasted. As first, he thought he was dreaming. It's reality. Then he broke down and started crying. He was inconsolable. Vivian and Terry couldn't hold back their tears, they joined him. Vivian explained how everything happened. And Vivian told them how he begged and discouraged Amoka but it was in vain. Terry was surprised. Then he said, Amoka and her entire family are terrible. Amoka met a man today, the next day the bride price was paid. And they didn't see anything wrong with that. Terry asked again, Aunt Vivian, how come the chief was able to call his family members and Amoka's family and finalize everything in just 2 days? Vivian replied, Amoka's family are very greedy. Have you forgotten what they did to them? When their father died. They didn't ask any question before they brought their dictionary list. As for Chief Emeka's family, my father and one of my father's friends were the only ones that followed him. The worst part is that Amoka's family didn't even care. Terry hissed. Tufioko. Vivian apologized to Sabinas on his father's behalf because he was part of the deal. But Sabinas declined and said, it's not his fault. Amoka is not a baby and moreover, she wasn't forced. When it was getting dark, Vivian left because her house was 2 hours from Sabina's place. That night, Vivian called Amoka with her new phone number that she has informed Sabina's. She expected her to feel remorse and sad, but she wasn't. At first, Amoka was angry. Later she said, "No problem. I wanted to tell him myself though. It's okay. I will call him to calculate how much he spent on me and my family. Let me pay back before somebody will tell the whole world how he helped Chief Emeka Aneo's wife." Vivian hissed and ended the call. Really, that same night, Amoka called Sabina's with her old number and the following conversation took place. Amoka called, Sabina's picked the call, thinking Amoka would tell him all Vivian said was a prank. Sabina's picked, "Hello Amoka, how are you?" Amoka replied, "Hello, good evening Sabina's. I guess Vivian has told you everything already. That over Sabi girl. She hissed she is living large and she wants me to remain poor. Bad bell," she hissed again. "Anyways," she continued. "Thank you for everything you did for me and my family. God bless you. And I pray, may God give you a good wife. Please, I want to pay you back because I won't like you to start broadcasting me around that you've helped me. Tell me how much you spent on me and my family. Send the total amount and your bank account to my Gmail number at amakalove@gmail.com. Anyways, you have my Gmail. Thanks. Take care." Sabina's was muted for a whole hour. He never believed Amoka could behave like that. From that moment, he decided never to talk her or any member of her family again or even collect a penny from them. Terry persuaded him to at least hear from her Amoka's mother, but he refused. Amoka and her family, even Chief Emeka Aneo, never reach out to Sabina's anyways. Back to Sabina's and Anne. Now Sabina's has realized that Amoka was even Chief Emeka Aneo's third wife and Chief Obi Aneo brother. Anne was shocked and she said, "Indeed, such is life." Just as Chief Obi threatened, Sabina's and Amoka were sacked from work on Monday morning. Chief Obi has threatened to remove his money from their bank if they don't sack Sabina's and Anne with immediate effect, so the bank couldn't risk that. When they were still on that, Anne lost his father to the cold hands of death. It was so devastating for both of them. The burial was done shortly. Still battling with that, Mr. Obi demanded for a refund. Here, he added huge amount of money for Anne to pay, because he knew she won't be able to pay. Then he was pressuring them to pay fast, else he would deal with them. Together, they confronted Chief Obi again. Stood up to his threats. They refused to be controlled by their past any longer. With newfound strength and determination, Sabina's and Anne were able to draw a lasting solution to their problems. They knew that it wouldn't be easy, but they were willing to face whatever challenges came their way as long as they were together. With a renewed sense of hope and love, Anne and Sabina's walked hand in hand towards a new beginning, leaving their past behind them. One day, Sabina's and Anne were going to church, then a man carelessly bashed their car. The man stopped. Then Sabina's angrily came down from his car. Unknowingly to them, they were Chief Obi's thugs. Before he could say anything, 2 men jumped out from the back seat and started beating Sabina's. Sabina's tried to retaliate, but they overpowered him. And screamed for help, but the vehicles passing were too scared to stop, thinking they were armed robbers, and it was early morning at about 6:10 a.m. They continued, then Sabina's collapsed. Thinking he was dead, they hurriedly drove off. Anne was already screaming. Sabina's quietly told Anne, "Stop shouting, I'm not dead. I pretended to faint so that they will leave me." Thank God it worked. But his body was filled with bruises. And he was bleeding from the nose too. Anne offered to drive him to the hospital, but Sabina said he was driving himself. Okay, Anne said. Anne couldn't understand the direction they were heading to anymore. Then Sabina turned to Chief Obi's route. Then Anne asked him, "Where are you going?" Sabina's replied, "Chief Obi's house." Anne was shocked. And she screamed, "So you want him to kill us finally? See what they've done to you already. Please turn back." It was too late. Sabina's was already in Chief Obi's gate. Sabina's came down from the car and started hitting the gate furiously. Unknowingly to them, they were Chief Obi's thugs. Before he could say anything, two men jumped out from the back seat and started beating Sabinas. Sabinas tried to retaliate, but they overpowered him and screamed for help, but the vehicles passing were too scared to stop, thinking they were armed robbers, and it was early morning at about 6:10 a.m. They continued, then Sabinas collapsed. Thinking he was dead, they hurriedly drove off and was already screaming. Sabinas quietly told Anne, "Stop shouting, I'm not dead. I pretended to faint so that they will leave me." Thank God it worked. But his body was filled with bruises, and he was bleeding from the nose too. Anne offered to drive him to the hospital, but Sabinas said he was driving himself. Okay, Anne said. Anne couldn't understand the direction they were heading to anymore. Then Sabinas turned to Chief Obi's route. Then Anne asked him, "Where are you going?" Sabinas replied, "Chief Obi's house." Anne was shocked. And she screamed, "So you want him to kill us finally? See what they've done to you already. Please stand back." It was too late. Sabinas was already in Chief Obi's gate. Sabinas came down from the car and started hitting the gate furiously. Chief Obi and his brother, Chief Emeka, heard the knock, and Chief Emeka was curious to know the person. Then he looked at his brother and said, "Do have problem with anybody?" Chief Obi laughed and said, "No, one small boy. Is my boyfriend. The one I told you about." Then he told Chief Emeka that the boy insulted him, then he asked some boys to beat him up. Chief Emeka laughed bitterly and said, "The guy is brave oh. After the beating he still came to your house to fight back." Sabinas still hitting the gate. Chief Emeka said, "Let him in, I want to see if he's as big as Goliath." Chief Obi laughed and ordered the gateman to open the gate. As the gateman was opening the gate, Chief Obi was telling his brother how he bought that particular duplex because of Anne. Just like his brother Chief Emeka, anytime they have decided to marry a new wife, they build or buy a new duplex. One wife to one house. He bought the duplex the moment Anne accepted to be his wife, and since then, he's been living there alone waiting for Anne to marry him, while his wife and children are living in another house alone. On the other hand, Chief Emeka, Amoka's husband, is about to marry his sixth wife. He's currently building a new house. He told his brother that his builder said the house will be fully completed in 3 months, so he will be marrying Ego as his sixth wife soon. Then Chief Obi replied, "Yes oh. Women like plenty wahala. For peace to reign, it is better to keep them afar." They were laughing while walking down the stairs to see the Goliath Sabinas, according to Chief Emeka. When Sabinas and Anne entered, Sabinas started shouting. He was telling Chief Obi to come out and kill him, if that's all it would take to free Anne. On hearing this, Anne broke down and started crying. It happened that Chief Emeka came to his brother's house with Amoka. She was sleeping inside the room when he heard Sabina's voice. Though they've departed for 5 years, his voice was still very fresh in his heart. He jumped up from the bed and looked through the window. Behold, it's Sabinas. Then he started wondering, what is he doing here? He rushed down the stairs and met Chief Obi and her husband Chief Emeka mocking him. Sabinas was not surprised because he already knew that Chief Emeka and Chief Obi are brothers. So it's possible to see Amoka there one day. Amoka watched how the two chiefs mock Sabinas, calling him different names while Anne was still on the floor crying. Then Chief Obi made a statement. He said to Sabinas, "Girl, when I done wash finish, you won't come claim am." No way. Instantly, Amoka understood everything. Then, Chief Emeka looked back and saw the wife, Amoka. This time, Chief Obi was still abusing Sabinas, threatening him that if he doesn't leave Anne, he will make his life more miserable, that even if they run away from Kano, he will trace and catch them. Chief Emeka turned to Amoka again, and said, "Go inside, stop wasting your time with these people. This stupid man wants to reap where he didn't sow." When Sabinas heard that, he laughed and turned to Chief Emeka and said, "That was how you reaped where you did not sow too." I sent Amoka to the university with my sweat, took care of her entire family when everyone abandoned them, and she left me without saying goodbye. I know you take her everywhere you go because she's smart, classy, and creative. You take her to assist you in all your transactions because she's a trained accountant. All thanks to me. God and I made it possible. At this point, Amoka started crying. Chief Emeka was shocked. Chief Obi was confused. Then Sabinas took Anne and left Chief Obi's house. When Sabinas left, Chief Emeka and Amoka explained everything to Chief Obi. He was indeed amazed. Later that night, Amoka kneeled down and begged her husband to help her beg Chief Obi to stop the torture and let Sabinas and Anne go free. She told him she has been in pain over the years because of what she did to Sabinas. She didn't bother to pay back because she knew Sabinas will never accept it, no matter the amount, he will never accept. With everything I did to Sabinas, I never knew he will ever love a woman again. Please help me, my beloved husband, she said. Indeed, Amoka was really an asset to Chief Emeka. Ever since Amoka joined his business, there has been tremendous increase in return, everything changed for the better. She also makes the work easy and stress-free for his husband, Chief Emeka. And realizing all that was possible because of Sabinas, created more guilt in Chief Emeka's heart. The next day, Chief Emeka begged his brother, Chief Obi, to let go of everything including the house and the cars he bought for Anne. He told his brother that he was willing to pay for everything. Chief Emeka said, I want to remove this guilt from my heart and also restore my wife's happiness. Amoka told me how he helped her and the whole family, yet I persuaded her to marry me for my selfish interest. Chief Obi saw how emotional his brother was, and he said, no problem. If you want me to let them go, I will. He reminded his brother how he brought him from nothing to mighty even though he wasn't educated. His brother still made sure he was successful in life, that now, even with his bad English, he sits with great people because of his money. Chief Obi was a wheelbarrow pusher when his brother Chief Emeka picked him up, trained him and settled him with huge sum of money. He didn't stop there. He told him to China where he can produce goods in a lower price and sell in higher prices. Produce goods in a lower price and sell in higher prices. Just 7 years in business, Chief Obi was already a billionaire. Chief Emeka didn't have the opportunity that he gave his siblings. Chief Emeka went to the university. When he was unable to secure a job in 3 years, he decided to learn trading in Peterson and Sons Enterprise. After spending 5 years with Peterson, he settled him with just 500,000 naira. Chief Emeka suffered before he became successful. So he vowed never to let his siblings suffer. Chief Emeka didn't only help Chief Obi, he helped all his siblings and they are doing well too. But he was closer to Chief Obi because they have similar character. They were womanizers. You know, birds of same feathers flock together. Chief Obi promised his brother that he will never disturb Anne and Sabinas again. He said, women plenty. I have 2 beautiful ones already. Maybe I go marry the 2 at once. Go marry the 2 at once. They both laughed. That moment, Chief Obi called Anne, in Chief Emeka's presence. Anne was in Sabina's house. She called for Sabina's presence when the phone rang. Why is he calling me, she said, then she put it on loudspeaker. To their greatest surprise, Chief Obi asked her to call Sabina's. He is listening already, said, and Chief Obi said okay. He started with an apology. He apologized for all he did to them. He told them, from that day, he will never disturb them again. That he has finally forgiven them. He asked her not to refund anything. And he prayed for them too. He even asked them if they wanted to return back to the company they were sacked, that he can appeal on their behalf, but they declined, that they didn't want to work there anymore. When he finished, they thanked him, and Sabinas asked why so nice all of a sudden. Then Chief Obi said, his brother, Chief Emeka, did worse to him yet he didn't kill him. Brother, Chief Emeka, did worse to him yet he didn't kill him. But he almost killed them. He continued that Sabinas struggled to send Amoka to school, that any penny he removed from his pocket, he felt it because he was receiving little salary, but all the things he bought for Anne, he never felt anything because he have in abundance. He told them how his brother also begged on their behalf. But before he begged him, he has already made up his mind to let them go. Chief Obi also begged Sabinas to forgive his brother, Chief Emeka, and his wife Amoka. Sabinas replied, "I've forgiven them long ago. I've everything I thought I've lost." Sabinas said, "I knew Amoka didn't love that much, but I thought the love will grow in time because of what I was doing for her. I'm grateful she didn't marry me out of pity. Right here, I have someone who loved me as much as I love her. I'm grateful for the second chance." They thanked him again. And he accepted their thanks. "Have someone who loved me as much as I love her. I'm grateful for the second chance." They thanked him again. And he accepted their thanks. Few months later, they got married in a beautiful ceremony surrounded by their families and friends. And couldn't believe how lucky she was to have found someone like Sabinas. He was kind, loving, and always there for her no matter what. After the wedding, they sold Anne's duplex and their cars and relocated to Canada. Years passed and they built a beautiful life together. They had children, traveled the world, and experienced many adventures together. Their love never faded and they always made sure to put each other first in everything they did. Anne looked back on the day they first met in the office and couldn't help but smile. It was a twist of fate that brought them together, but she was grateful every day for meeting Sabinas. They were truly meant to be together and their love story was one for the ages.
In the city of Port Harcourt, there lived a beautiful girl called Ada. She was 9 years old. She was the only child to her parents. Ada's father was
a very busy businessman
who could not spend time with his child. He came home after Ada had slept and was off to office before Ada woke up in the morning. Ada's mother too was a daughter, who was always on and off from the hospital, so she was always left in the care of her helpers. Ada yelled for his parents' attention. She wanted to go outdoors and play with her parents just like her friends.
Oftentimes, it's the nanny that normally take her out, and she never enjoyed it
because the park was always filled with other children's parents. One day, Ada said to her nanny, Grace, "Those parents that normally bring their kids to the park, they don't go to work?" Grace couldn't answer. She smiled and hugged her. Grace was an understanding woman and caring woman who has noticed the sadness in Ada's face whenever she sees other children with their parents, while her own parents were always busy at work.
Though Ada had 4 nannies, Grace was the best among them. Grace was even the last person they employed, yet she was the best. Grace saw Ada's parents' lapses immediately she entered the family. Since then, she'd been trying all her best to cover up everything, but it was not easy for her anyways. When Grace came into the family, she noticed there was nothing like fun for a child. There was no party, there was no game. Ada was never taken to park to play. She didn't know how to swim. All the basic things a child is supposed to do at her age, Ada was never allowed to. It took Grace a whole lot of time before she was able to convince Mr. Obina and Mrs. Ego before they allowed her to take Ego out. When Grace introduced swimming, they were fully against it. But later on, they accepted. By the time Ada clocked 7 years, she was able to swim very well. Ada even won her school swimming competition at the age of 7. All thanks to Grace. So, Grace was able to introduce so many fun games and fun activities for Ada so that she could feel better. Yet, Ada was not satisfied. She still needed her parents' companion. Grace
tried to explain to Mrs. Ego, Ada's mom, in several occasions, but she never listened. Everything we are doing is for her to live a better life in the future. We don't have another child yet.
And we don't know if we are eventually going to end up with just her. And it's fine. So you can see we are doing everything for her and her future.
We are struggling to provide for her to give her the luxury life she deserves. When she grows, she will understand better, she said.
I hate it when people try to think that doing too much, we are doing everything intentionally. We have to work for her to have a better life, said Mrs. Ego, replied angrily. Mrs. Ego, so at this point, Grace has decided not to ever bring the issue again because she doesn't want to lose her job. She's a widow with 2 kids and they depend on that salary to survive. So at this point, she said, I would never bring up this matter again, but I would do my best to make sure Ada is fine.
Ada's parents have never attended any of her school activities. PTA meetings, open day, school parties were all attended by their numerous nannies. There was a time Ada's headmistress called Mrs. Ego because of the same thing. She got angry and threatened to remove her child from their school if she called her for the same issue again. The school fees is over 2 million naira. If we don't work, how do you expect us to pay? She hissed and ended the call. The headmistress murmured. One day, Ada was surprised to see her father at home in the evening. Dad, it is a big surprise to see you at home, Ada said. Yes, my child. My meeting was cancelled, so I'm at home. But after 2 hours, I have to catch a flight, her father replied. When will you be back? Ada said. Tomorrow. Ada was in deep thought for a while. Then she asked again, Dad, how much do you earn in a year? Ada's father was taken aback. He said, My dear, it is a very big amount and you won't be able to understand it. Okay, Dad. Are you happy with the amount you earn? Yes, my dear, I'm very happy. And in fact, I'm planning to launch our new branch and a new business in few months. Is it that great? Yes, Dad. I'm happy to hear that. Can I ask you one more question? Yes, dear. Dad, can you tell me how much you earn in a day or even half a day? Ada, why are you asking this question? Ada's father was surprised. But Ada was persistent. Please answer me. Can you please tell me how much you earn in an hour? Ada's father gave in and replied, It should be around 100,000 naira. Ada ran to her room upstairs and came down with her piggy bank that contained her savings. Dad, I don't know how much I have in my piggy bank, but take everything. Can you spare 2 hours for me? I want to go to the beach and have dinner with you tomorrow evening. Can you please mark this in your schedule? Ada's father was speechless. He couldn't hold himself any longer. Tears started gushing down his eyes. That moment he hugged Ada, kissed her and apologized to her for all the time they have been absent in her life. He promised to change. When Ada's mom returned, Ada's father, Mr. Obina, told her everything. She was also very sad. Ada's mom, Mrs. Ego, said, with all the luxury life she has, she's still not satisfied. Indeed, the greatest gift parents can ever give their children is time. Money can't buy everything. We have to find time to spend with her. Not just find time, we have to create quality time to spend with our daughter. She's our only child for now. I don't want to lose her in the future. I don't want her to think I hate her. I don't want her to think I hate her too, Ada's father replied. Mrs. Ego used to work in 2 hospitals. She dropped one immediately. She resigned from one immediately the next day. And Mr. Obina also replanned his work schedules. They were able to spend good time with their daughter Ada. Ada was very happy and they lived happily ever after.
Once upon a time, in the big city of Lagos, there lived a man named Philip. He was a banker in one of the prominent banks in Lagos. Philip was 32 years old. All his friends and family said it was time for him to get married. Philip was a strong and hardworking man. He was very smart with lots of excellence awards. His friends and family said, Philip, you have everything, but you need a wife to complete your life. Soon, Philip's friends began to recommend women for him. The first woman was Kate. Kate was kind, beautiful, and respectful. She cooked very well and always greeted elders with a smile. But Kate did not go to school. Philip said, No, Kate is not educated. I want someone who is smart, The second woman was Blessing. Blessing was cheerful, hardworking, and could sing beautifully. She knew how to take care of a home and help his father on the farm. But Blessing had never left the village to see the city. Philip said, "No, Blessing is not classic enough. I want a modern wife." The third woman was Lucy. Lucy was quiet and respectful. She made clothes for people and was known for her patience. But Lucy was not the kind of woman Philip dreamed of. She is not special enough, he thought. Then one day, Philip went to a wedding in Abuja. There, he met a woman named Precious. Precious was tall, beautiful, and very educated. She wore shiny clothes and spoke with big words. Everyone said she was from the city, and she worked in a big office. Philip's heart began to race. This is the woman I want. After all, our names match. Philip and Precious. Beautiful match, he told himself. Philip approached Precious and told her he liked her. Precious smiled and said, "We shall see." They exchanged phone numbers. After that day, Philip started calling Precious. He later realized that she even resided in Lagos, that she also went to Abuja for the wedding just the same way he went from Lagos. This made him so glad. Each time they talk, Precious spoke to him about the city, books, and modern life. He was amazed. They started a relationship and they became so close in no time. There were red flags from Precious that Philip was supposed to look out for, but he was carried away by her beauty and personality. Precious was so rude, aggressive and mannerless, but Philip ignored all that. 2 months in their relationship, Philip proposed to Precious and they were set to get married. One day, Precious's friends whispered to Philip. They said, "Philip, are you sure about this? Precious is not as sweet as you think." "Be careful," one of them said. "I know we are not supposed to tell you, but we could not help it. We have brothers too. We are not asking you not to marry her, but you are too in a hurry. Stay and know each other for a while," they said. But Philip did not listen. "You are jealous," he told them. Philip shunned them and called them bad friends. He even threatened to inform Precious if they bring up the matter again. Philip's family also warned him too. His mother said, "Philip, sometimes beauty and big words are not enough. A good woman has a good heart. We know we have been asking you to marry, but we think this one is too sudden. You just introduced her to us, now marriage." "Oh no," she concluded. But Philip laughed. "Mother, Precious is perfect for me. You will get to know her," he said. 2 months later, Philip and Precious got married. The wedding was big and colorful. People danced, drums were played, and food was served. Philip felt proud that he had chosen such a beautiful and educated woman. But everything began to change after the wedding. One morning, Philip asked Precious to help him fetch a glass of water. She frowned and said, "Do I look like someone who fetches water? I'm not a village woman. Please get up and do that yourself." Philip was surprised, but he said nothing. Days later, Philip came home from work feeling tired and hungry. He found Precious sitting in the balcony, painting her nails. "Honey, have you cooked?" Philip asked. Precious looked at him and said, "You can cook for yourself, can't you? I'm busy." Philip's stomach rumbled with hunger, but he said nothing. Soon, Precious resigned from her work that her boss insulted her from coming late to work. Also, she said, she was tired that the work was stressful for her. She started spending Philip's money on clothes and trips to different places alone. While Philip was busy working, Philip employed a cook and housekeepers because his wife was doing absolute nothing. The worst part, she was disrespectful to Philip's family and they began to talk. One day, Philip sat down on a bench outside his house. He put his head in his hands. His friends came to see him. "Philip, we told you," they said. Philip looked up and sighed. "What have I done?" They encouraged him to communicate more with Precious and also hold his ground as the man of the house. As the days went by, Precious's behavior grew worse. She would shout at Philip when he asked her for help. She called his friends low-class people and laughed at his family. The moon shone brightly in the sky, but the light brought Philip no comfort. He whispered to himself, "I made a mistake, a big mistake." The next morning, Philip's mother came to see him. She found him sitting quietly on the couch. "My son," she said gently, "not all that glitters is gold." Philip nodded, tears in his eyes. "You were right, mother," he said. His mother advised him to divorce Precious and look for another woman, since the child is not involved yet. But Philip refused that he will be mocked. That the marriage is just 6 months. "Anyways, I will threaten her with divorce, let me see if she will change," he said, while his mother nodded her head. Philip was waiting patiently for his wife Precious, who went for a horse riding with her friends. "Today, I will threaten her with divorce, if she continues like this," he said. Suddenly he received a call that Precious was hospitalized. At first, Philip thought it was just a minor sickness. But Precious stayed in bed for days, complaining of pain in her stomach. They referred them to another hospital, where the doctor revealed a shocking truth. "It seems your wife has lived a reckless life before now, lots of damages has been detected in her system," the doctor said. "She has been sick for a long time, but it seems she never told you." Philip's eyes widened. "She didn't tell me," he whispered. The doctor continued, "She will need surgery to fix some. And I hope it works. Else she might die. And there is more, never mind, let's treat it one after the other please," the doctor concluded. Philip's heart sank. "Surgery? There is more? Oh goodness. What have I put myself into?" Philip lamented. He had no choice but to pay for her treatment. He used the money he had saved before marriage, hoping it would solve the problem. Yet there was no apology, explanation or appreciation from Precious. Philip whispered to himself, "What have I done? I married without knowing the truth." After the first surgery, Precious got better for a while. But soon, the pain came back. Philip took her to the hospital again, and the doctor said another surgery was needed. Philip began to worry. He was spending all his money, and Precious's health was not improving. Within 3 years, Philip paid for 3 surgeries. He lost concentration at work. He was absent from work because he was always in the hospital, caring for Precious. By the 4th year of marriage, Philip sold the land he acquired before the marriage to pay for the 4th surgery. He borrowed money from friends, neighbors, and even strangers. Precious's condition worsened, and Philip's heart grew heavy. The love he once felt was replaced by worry and regret. One evening, as Philip was coming from hospital, he met Kate, one of the women he rejected. Kate saw him first and greeted him. Philip was surprised because of the way she expressed herself and her boldness. "You used to be very shy, and how come you speak fluently?" Philip said. Kate smiled and said, "Shortly after you rejected me, I met another man, a lecturer. After our wedding, he registered me with Lookman Adult Education Program. There I was taught how to read and write. I enrolled for senior secondary certificate." Philip cut in, "Did you pass the exams?" Kate answered yes. "I passed very well. I am presently in 200 level in Lagos State College of Education, Yoba." "What?" Philip was amazed. That moment, Kate's phone rang. Her husband called her to come home immediately that the kids were crying. "I will have to go now, my kids are crying," Kate said. "Oh, you have kids already?" Philip asked. Yes, I have 4 kids. 2 sets of twins. Kate replied. See you next time. They waved each other goodbye. 2 days after Philip met Kate, his friends came to visit him and he told them. They said they knew about it. That they didn't feel it was necessary for them to inform him. We wanted the best for you. We were all married and we knew the importance of having a good wife. We recommended 1 woman each for you. Women we knew and were sure would be good for you, but you refused all of them. The other 2 are married and are doing well too. They concluded. In less than 5 years, Philip had spent all his savings and has borrowed a huge sum of money for 5 surgeries. Yet Precious was still sick and his job was threatened. Few months later, just when Precious was recovering, Philip lost his job. And everything worsened. Precious became unfaithful in their marriage in order to satisfy her wants, but unknowingly to Philip. Then the news started spreading round. When Philip finally found out, he filed for divorce. I am even tired of this marriage. You that cannot provide for your family. Precious hissed. 12 years after their painful marriage, Philip and Precious finally divorced. They went their separate ways, carrying the scars of their choices. For Philip, the divorce was a relief, but he was left with nothing. He had no job, no car, and no money. Everything he had worked for was gone. Philip moved to another city to start over. With no job and no savings to build a business, he began driving boats to earn a living. Every day, he drove through the busy streets of Lagos, picking up strangers and dropping them off at their destinations. Sometimes, when the city was quiet, Philip would look at the rearview mirror and think about his past. The regrets came like waves, and he wondered how his life would have been if he had chosen differently. In the evenings, after long hours of driving, Philip sat in his small bungalow he was lucky to build before he married Precious. A house that was not fully renovated, that he could not complete in 12 years. He managed to maintain a room that he could rest his head. He ate simple meals and stared at the ceiling, dreaming of the days when his life was booming and beautiful. I am alive and healthy, his heart was hopeful. It is never too late to start again, he told himself quietly. I will rise once more. And so, Philip's journey of rebuilding his life began, one drive, one day, and one hope at a time. A new search begins. After 4 years of living alone, Philip decided to try another relationship. I am close to 50. No wife, no child. Let me try my luck again, he said. This time, he vowed to marry a devoted wife from the church. I need a good woman who fears God, Philip told himself. He joined a well-known church in the city and began attending every service. But deep down, Philip's true purpose was to find a devoted wife. One Sunday, he noticed a young woman named Mary. She dressed modestly, always wore long dresses, and carried a Bible wherever she went. Philip thought, this is the one. He approached Mary. Sister Mary, he called. Mary answered and said, how did you know my name? Philip laughed. Who doesn't know you in this church? They both laughed. Philip told Mary his intentions and Mary promised to pray about it. 1 month later, Mary accepted Philip's proposal and they began courting. At first, Philip discovered that Mary was not doing anything. He asked her, when she couldn't go to school, why did she not learn a skill? But Mary lied to him that he used to have a shop. But tragedy happened and she lost everything. That presently, it's the church that is taking care of her. Philip felt bad. From that day on, Philip placed her on a daily wages of 3,000 naira. At least it will settle her daily bread. Philip continued for 3 months, so he asked Mary to think of small business she can set up for her at the moment. instead of her to be idle. But Mary promised to get back to him, but she never did. 1 month later, Philip came up with an idea. You can start food business in a cubicle at junction of this street. I will talk to the street chairman, Philip suggested. When I have enough money, I will open a better shop for you. Mary accepted. Philip spoke with the street chairman. He was asked to pay certain amount. He paid immediately. Philip bought the big umbrella, the cubicle, the pots and all the necessary things she needed for a start. One Friday evening, after work, Philip gave Mary 100,000 naira to start the food business. She thanked Philip. I will go to market tomorrow and buy the foodstuffs. On Monday, I will start cooking, Mary said. She was so happy. I have tasted your food, you cook so well. I pray you succeed. Philip encouraged her. That fateful Monday, Philip drove past Mary's supposed shop and he was surprised that Mary did not open. What could have happened? Immediately he called Mary. Mary did not pick his calls. Rather, she texted Philip that she was in a church program. Later that day, she messaged Philip, telling him that she can no longer sell food at the street junction because people will laugh and mock her. Philip was shocked. Philip tried to persuade, telling her she got no business with the people's reactions, but Mary has made up her mind already. Philip let it go. A week later, Philip mistakenly saw her identity card, and he discovered that Mary lied about her age. Mary was 42 years old and she lied to Philip that she was 32 years old. Mary apologized to Philip. Age is just a number, you shouldn't have lied, Philip said. Again, he let that go. 1 month later, Philip, already saving money to rent a better shop for Mary, mistakenly saw Mary's archive message. In the message, Mary's younger sister asked her to come to the village immediately that her son was ill. So Mary has a son and she didn't tell me all this while, Philip screamed. Philip confronted Mary. Mary admitted having 2 kids. Philip screamed, and you never told me. Mary got upset. Did you ask? She said. I don't have problem with you having kids. The lies and the unseriousness are the things I can't cope with anymore. That day, Philip ended the relationship immediately. That night, Philip thanked God for saving him from Mary. Who knows, she is even worse than Precious, he said. Who knows, maybe I am not destined to marry. He vowed to stay alone forever. One day, he was driving a beautiful lady to destination. The girl complained that he was too quiet, and he apologized politely. From there, one talk led to another, and the lady narrated her life history to Philip. With all the horrible and toxic relationships I have experienced, now I have come into conclusion that I am not destined to marry, she concluded. Philip consoled her and asked her to give love a second chance, but she laughed and said no. All men are the same. They got to her destination and they waved goodbye. Philip was so tired, so he went home to rest. The next day, as he was cleaning his car, preparing for the day's work, he saw a transparent bag. This must be my last passenger's bag. Immediately, without opening the bag, he traced her phone number and called her. Immediately the lady screamed. She quickly came to Philip's house to pick the bag. You saved my life and my job. Anytime I talk about my past relationships, I lost control of myself. In here are documents of a contract of 500 billion naira sealed. I am the team leader for the project, that is why I am in possession of it. I thought the file was inside the big bag I carried yesterday. Thank you so much, the lady said. 2 weeks later, one Sunday morning, Philip had a knock on her door. He asked, "Who is that?" "Peace." "Who is Peace?" The lady returned her bag. She said. Philip jumped to the door. stammering. Anything. Peace smiled. I came to invite you to my church. Please don't say no. Okay. Philip took his bath. Got ready in a quickly. I am set. He said. Please, we will need to walk down the street to take a public transport. The car I use for both is not mine. And I don't have access to it on Sundays. Philip explained. Don't worry, I came with a car. Peace said. After church service, Peace and Philip went for drink. Their friendship began. One day, during one of their visits, Philip opened up and told Peace about his past. I thought I have given up on love, but I don't know why I'm so attached to you. The more I try to move away from you, the closer I become. I know you've given up on love, but please try me. Give me a chance to prove to you that I am different. All men are not the same. The way men break women's heart is the way you ladies break our heart too. Just look out mine now. Philip said. How did you know I am not like the others? Peace asked. My instinct. My heart. I have never used these two before. I have used appearances, I have used beauty and class. Now, I am using my instinct and my heart. Peace smiled. I have loved you the very day I saw you. I tried to fight it because I felt I was foolish and cheap. Until it got to the point that I couldn't control myself any longer. They smiled and a beautiful love story began. 1 year later, without Philip's knowledge, Peace has secured a good job for him with his father's connections and influence. On Philip's 50th birthday, same day, being Peace's 40th birthday, Philip has planned a room engagement party for Peace. When she arrived, Philip proposed to her and she gladly said yes. Then Peace also gave Philip the new job offer letter. Philip couldn't believe his eyes. He cried bitterly and he blessed the day he met Peace. And also promising her that she will never know pain again with him. Philip resumed work immediately. He was given a new apartment and a car. Few months later, they got married in the presence of their friends and family. On their 5th marriage anniversary, Philip took Peace and their 2 children on vacation in Dubai. For few minutes, he couldn't stop staring at Peace. Why are you staring at me? Peace asked. Until today, I was not convinced that you are who you are. Many times, I thought you were pretending. I am sorry to say. It's not that I didn't trust you, but it was too beautiful to be real. Philip concluded. I felt the same thing too, honey. I even told my parents on our 3rd wedding anniversary. You know what they told me? No, Philip answered. When you find the right person, it looks and feels like magic. Sometimes, it looks as if you are dreaming. Rest, rest my child. God has wept your tears and has restored your wasted years with diamond in human form. Philip smiled and said, you are the diamond. No, you are the diamond, Peace argued. They both played around while the kids laughed out loud. The end. Indeed, when you find the right person, at first, it looks and feels like magic. Please like, comment and share. Subscribe for more videos. Thank you.